Tonight, our workshop is about doing monotype printing, it's called. That is printing where you put paint down and you make a bunch of marks potentially in the paint. Some people like to spend more time on it and get the print to be a particular image. And then you put paper down on top of it and you pull, that's called pulling a print. Then you pull the paper back up and there's your print right there from what was down on top of a print plate. And the kind of print plate we're going to be using tonight is the folks at Gel Press. So this is the company Gel Press. They sent me this 5x7 and an 8x10. So we're going to be working with those tonight, as well as I already knew that I love these. I've used them for years. I said, hey, can you send me a fresh set? And they were like, sure, we will. So thank you, Gel Press. Um, and so some of the other sizes and shapes, because they're not just rectangular or square, they also come in other shapes. So this is one that I had already bought for myself long ago, and it is round. You see this right here? I love the round shape, also from Gel Press. So yes, there are two sizes of rounds available. This is the 6 inch. There's also a 4 inch. So I'm not planning on doing the rounds, but if y'all in the chat are like, ooh, I want to see something in the round, I'll be happy to take it out of the package and do it for you. Okay. The other thing that I love that Gel Press has are what they call petites. So it's gel press petites, and these are little shapes. And I've shown these before on prior workshops. When we were doing collage on children's books, I showed you how to use the petites, the smaller ones, to make prints either directly in what it is that you're working on, or on paper and then gluing the paper down as collage. So here are some different shapes. So there are a bunch of different shapes of these gel press. This is two sets of petites. The thing with the petites that I like to show everybody is I like to take the petites. So you see that round shape right there? That's one of the petites. And it's a jelly. It's like this sort of silicone jelly type stuff. And that is the printing press. That's the printing plate we're going to be using. And notice that I attached it. See how it just comes right up? I attached it to an acrylic stamping board. And I like these acrylic stamping backings because I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, you can see it. They have, you see the lines on there. And you also see that these are the gel press are clear, which is really cool because if you wanted to do something to say you have a picture of a bird or a flower or something, you can literally put the clear gel press down on top of a picture of that and then follow along right on top of the gel press with the picture that's underneath because you can see through it, right? Until you put paint all over it. They come with these little sheets. I know a lot of people throw these away, but what I like to do with the, at least with the miniatures, is I put them on an acrylic backing and then I just put that back over top of it like that to protect it so it doesn't get all dirty because Lordy knows there's a lot in my studio and it's very easy to get dirty. Now that's one, that's a mini that's relatively fresh. Here's one that I've used for a long time and there's paint all over the edge of it. There's still paint on the top or bottom of it. Paint's going to get everywhere. But that's okay. It's okay. We're going to have some fun. That's the fun of it, right? We end up getting paint everywhere. Let me show you a couple of, I have some pieces that I would consider not done yet from as press artworks, and then pieces that I considered finished. So when we do this process and when we get over top of the table, you're going to see that you're going to pull a print, pull a print, pull a print. I mean, oh my gosh, we're going to be pulling like millions of prints. What I did is I put a table in front of my display table here so that I can just throw the prints over there onto the table as we're getting done with them because you end up making a lot of prints when you do this. And here are some of the ones that are not finished artworks. They're layers. So when you're building your monotype prints, you can do it as one print pull, or you can do it in multiple layers. So for instance, this pink was a background, and then you'd recognize the shapes here. These were done on top of another background. The cool thing with these, when you put the shapes like this on a block like this, is you can take something like this and you can make a decision as to where you want it to go when you're working with the petites. So don't discount those petites, y'all. I think the petites are amazing. Okay, so there's that one. And then this one. Now you will have no idea. I bet if I asked, nobody would know what these were unless you saw some of my previous workshops. And so here's what that is, that shape, which I call kind of a skeleton shape, right? It doesn't it look like a spine? Well, here's what it is right here. What is that? An egg carton? And there's the bottom right there. You see that? So you're going to begin to look at everything in your that comes into your house and your kitchen in a different way, because you're going to be like, can I use that on my print plate? Yes. So isn't that cool how that comes out? Now, I don't consider that one done yet. It could be done. I could put my signature on it and say, bada bing, bada boom, you're done. But at this point, it's sitting in my, these are sitting in my to readdress. Um, Now, this one, the background has multiple layers. Can you see how there's sort of this coppery color, and then there's this sort of green in the background there? So what that means is that background, before I put this on top, um, I had just pulled a bunch of layers of paint off. And then when I felt comfortable with the background, then I put something a little more purposeful on top. And here is just a scribble on the surface. This is actually, I was testing out some blue paper, you see, with the white paint and the ink. And that, I really like the way that came out. And then this one, oops, that's upside down. It goes this way. But you can see here again, a really interesting background and then ink on it. So I'm going to show you how to work with not only acrylic paints, but also this is some India ink from Pebeo. So you can either use India ink or you can use Sumi ink. So this is like Asian calligraphy ink, Sumi ink from Yasutomo. So those are the two that I like to use on the gel plate. Um, what else do we have? Now this is pulling ghost prints. So we're going to do a print, and then usually there's still paint left on the surface. So then we do what's called pulling a ghost print to get as much paint off the surface as possible. And so this would have been a ghost print. It's not, you can't see the imagery really sharp, but it creates these very mysterious backgrounds. And that's, there's another ghost print, but you can see, and I like to use metallic paints. So metallic copper, metallic silver, and metallic gold on my acrylic paint on my press. And then what happens is when you have pieces like this, which might be several ghost prints, they start to get a shimmer and a shine to them. There's another one that I could consider it done, but oh my gosh, this one has tons of gold. Let me do this. You see the flash of the gold? Isn't that awesome? So that's using gold acrylics. And this one also has some of the gold on it here. So it just makes it really interesting. I'm going to talk about the papers in just a minute, because these are all different kinds of papers here. And see how that's fun? I sometimes you can say, "Ooh, I think that's done," and other times you're like, "Okay, it's not quite done. I'm going to do more on top. Either I'm going to collage on top of it, or I'm going to draw on top of it, that kind of thing." So these are some of my what I would consider in process pieces. Let me move those out of the way right there. And then these are some that I consider finished pieces. Again, these are monotype prints off of, this is off of an 8x10. So this paper is 9x12, but I was using an 8x10 gel press, right, for it. And so I call this one Warrior's Path. And there's a lot of history in that background, a lot of layers of color. And so the fun thing is when you get started, you just create a bunch of backgrounds on your press. And then you start layering. And as you start layering, that's when you start to get all of this really cool interest in your piece where you just get amazing layers. And that's something that you can't do just by going after a piece of paper with a paintbrush. All right, let me get this one back in there. Want to be sure these stay clean because I'm going to be slinging a lot of paint here in just a minute. All right, and you might be asking, well, what kind of paint are you going to be using anyway, Tristina? So let me show you the kind of paint we're going to be using. Um, any kind of acrylic paint, y'all, really, any kind. Although I find it's a little bit easier if you have a paint with just a little bit of body to it. So yes, absolutely, you can put inks down on the gel plate, but what I find is the more wet the paint is, the more fluid it is, there's a potential for it to bead up on the surface because these gel presses, um, it's a non-permeable surface, and so it's a little bit slick. And if you use something that has too much water in it, then it'll bead up on top. A lot of times when I put the ink on it, it will bead up on top, so I won't get perfect lines. Now, I like that because I like the fact that when you're pulling monotypes, they're very organic looking. They're not, if you want something that's like a perfect representation of what you just did with your hand, then don't do a monotype because monotypes are much more organic in nature. And then what I usually will use, like for instance, these Deco Art Americanas. What's this other one? I think this is plaid folk art. So these are, even though they're fluid, they're a little thicker fluid. So they're not so fluid that they won't stick. Okay. And they are acrylic paints. So some people consider these craft acrylics, but they work great on your gel press. And then these are more studio paints. So let me show you, for instance, this is the Pebeo Studio acrylics, and there are tons of colors in this. And then I like to use it from the tube. That's just, I'm going to show you why in a few minutes because I find it easier to put onto the plate if it's coming out of a tube. This is another Pebeo paint, a little bit higher quality. This is their studio paint, and this is their artist, like professional artist grade. These are called Origin acrylics, and that's actually a real paint swatch right there, which is cool because then you can see exactly what the color is. But we're not going to care too much about that because we're going to be layering colors like crazy, and it'll be so much fun. So I have a whole bin here of different ones. Pebio gave these to me. Thank you, Pebio, so that I could experiment with them, give them my feedback. I told them I absolutely love them. So thank you, Pebio. And then this is Lucas paint, and that's from Jerry's Artorama. They import this. I think this comes from Germany, right? Yeah, it says Germany, made in Europe. So um, and I love this color. Isn't that color pretty? So pretty. So I don't discriminate over the brands of acrylics that I use. Just pick the colors that you like, and then we're going to have some fun. But I do like to say that it's good to have some darks and some lights because we're going to be creating backgrounds. So imagine that you create a dark background, then your metallics like your gold and your silver will really jump off when you put them on top of a dark background that we can create. And then the opposite of that, you might want to create light backgrounds because then you will want to put some bold colors maybe on after that. So we're going to be doing multiple layers, not just single layers with these artworks. The other thing is you're going to need some sort of brayer. So this is called a brayer right here, and it rolls, and you roll it on like this, and when you're done rolling, you flip it over like this, and that way you don't get paint on the table, right? And they come in multiple sizes. So this is my 4-incher that I use all the time. I actually have a whole bin over here full of different brayers. So here's a nice small one with when you're working on those minis, those petites, the small one is better. And you can get something like this. So this is by Speedball. Speedball makes all the ones that I have. These are all Speedball, excellent quality. And this one has a little different type of handle, plastic handle, where this plastic handle is a little bit different. And if you'll notice here, there's one, two, three, four different rollers. So this is clear acrylic. This is a softer rubber and a harder rubber. So these can be fun to purchase the set and then experiment with the different rollers to see what you like best in terms of the hardness of the roller. My favorite is, do you see on the end here? It's kind of that peachy, it's a little bit soft. I like the rollers that are a little bit soft myself. That's what I like. Um, okay, then we're going to need some paper, right? To do this on. Well, if you read any of the books or you watch anybody else online, you're going to see there's a wide range of papers. The simplest thing that most people have in their house is just printer paper. So here's some just plain old white paper that I use in my printer. This will work great, y'all, for this kind of technique. Another type of paper that I really like to use is this is newsprint. So I just bought 9 by 12 newsprint loose, and so this works nicely because notice the difference. This is bright white and this one's kind of a putty color. So it's fun to play around with the different backgrounds there. Then you can start getting into a little bit more specialty papers. This is for the kitchen, right? This is deli paper, but a lot of people like to do their prints on deli paper if you're going to use the print to collage onto something else. So you can create collage papers, your own collage papers, as opposed to finished artworks on something like these deli sheets right here. And they're terrific. I love doing the deli sheets myself. Then there are a couple of types of books that I like to use. Books meaning like pads. So this is actually excellent paper, y'all. This is from Creatology, and I think it's 90 pounds, right? Yep, right there it says 90 pounds. Super inexpensive to purchase these. And the paper here is perfect for doing this kind of thing. Now, I'm going to show you, this is the latest thing I was doing, and that is when you're finished rolling on some of the paint, you need to clear your brayer before you go to the next color. So you're going to need some sort of pad or notebook that you put your excess paint on so that you can just keep creating backgrounds, because you're going to have a lot of paint when you're doing this technique. And I love that paper because it's very inexpensive. And then this is an Arteza watercolor book. Oop, there you go, like that, hardbound. And so this has 140-pound paper in it, but I like that it's in the spiral bound, so it doesn't, like, the paper doesn't end up all over the place. And so you can keep it all right inside here. And these are a really good choice as well. Now, a few other papers that I have over here. Don't get overwhelmed. Remember, if nothing else, just use your printer paper or whatever you have on hand. Okay. So you can absolutely use basically any paper with this. I'm just looking, there's another notebook or another pad of paper that I love with this technique. And it is the Fabriano brand. There's Fabriano mixed media paper. So just like that other Creatology paper that I showed you that was 90 pound, this is 108 pound here. So it says they're 108 pound. This is actually a white paper, but a lot of the pieces that I showed you earlier of ones that I had been pulling prints or done on this paper. And what I like about this particular pad, they call this their fat pad, like it started out like that, really big, is because it comes with 150 sheets on it. So it says there 150 sheets. So it's very economical, even though it looks like it's costing more to buy this. It's actually more economical because you get 150 sheets in it. If you go down to, oh, divide the price, I think it comes out to about 30 cents a sheet or something like that. Very, very reasonable for really good paper. I love the Fabriano paper company. Then another type of paper that I love to use with these kind of prints, if I'm going to, well, it can make finished artwork or it can be used for collage material, is Sumier calligraphy paper. Not any Sumier calligraphy paper, because a lot of the practice paper is very thin. But these in particular, there are two. So there's the Ayato is the brand, and I will try to see any of these items that I'm showing you. I will try to link in the description of the video on YouTube later tonight so that you can look at the video tomorrow, the replay on YouTube, and see the links to these items. I'm not sure if the Ayato is still available. I hope it still is, but notice it says Sumier painting and calligraphy right there, right? And then this one is the Yasutomo sketch pad. And down here it says 6H. So you see the 6H right there. These are the right thickness to not fall apart when you're using them on your press. And half of the ones that I showed you from earlier um, were done on this paper. I love this paper. It's a little more expensive, but it works beautifully, these calligraphy papers. Like I said, not all calligraphy papers work, because a lot of calligraphy papers, when you see a pack and it's between 15 and $20 and it's 100 sheets in it or 50 sheets in it, yeah, those are too thin. They won't work, okay? They're they're perfect for drawing on and mark making on those thinner sheets um, that are less expensive. But if you want to pull prints and potentially make finished artwork or collage papers, then you want to use these thicker sketch papers for calligraphy papers. Okay. And then the last thing I want to show you for paper is something that I got recently, and I shared it last workshop. And that is um, right now, I found that there are these incredible packs. Look at this pack. I think it was 240 sheets. And it is, does it say 240 sheets? Yes. This is a 5x7 size, and this is 110 pounds. So just like the Creatology paper was 90 pounds, then the Fabriano paper was 108 pounds. This is 110 pounds. So these are not too heavy, like a watercolor paper is 140 pounds, and yet not too light. So these kind of papers, wow, they take the prints beautifully, and it's very economical the way you can buy these large 240 packs of the 110-pound papers. So I definitely want to try some of these with the 5x7 uh, one of the gel presses that Gel Press sent to me. So we'll do that tonight for sure. When I'm warming up, when I'm just getting started, I usually like to just use the newsprint or use the printer paper. Okay. So, like I said, you don't have to get too fancy. Um, Something else that we're going to need is some sort of mark making tool to make marks on the surface of our gel plate. And so Q-tips are great. Love Q-tips. The way you can make little dots and things with the Q-tips is awesome. Or wipe away some of the paint. Fantastic. Okay. Or in past videos, I showed how to make these little, just using styrofoam, and make these are little stamps. And so I'll show you how you can make stamps. Now, these are handmade stamps or homemade stamps, but you can also use this kind of block stamps as well. So you can see, as it's better if it has really good texture. If it's very fine, it doesn't work as well because we're working with acrylic paint, which is a little bit thicker, right? If we were just working with ink, then a block like this that was more fine would work. But since we're working with acrylic paint that's a little thicker, you want ones that have a lot more space in between the design. Okay. And then something else, again, remember I said earlier, you're going to start looking at things in your house differently, like the egg carton right here. You're going to look and, ooh, what design is on there, right? Do you recognize what this is? This is a silicone trivet, but so for hot things, right, in your kitchen. But look at the honeycomb design that's on there. Isn't that awesome? So this is great. Notice the size for pressing in to say the round one in order to get the nice honeycomb design out of it. Um, and these are nice and deep. It's not shallow. Okay, so the design is nice and deep, and this will work perfectly as a texture impress. So I'm always looking for stuff like that. And then, of course, you can purchase ones as well. So this was a set, a Tim Holtz collection from back in the day. And so you can see the different designs right here. And this is designed so that the holes are deep. You recognize this? Let me show you. That is from this right here. Oh my gosh, you see there? So I used the egg carton on the outside, and then I came back in the middle and I used this one right here, this stamp. And so these stamps are, hold on just a second, let me get that back in there. These stamps, as you see, they came in a set like this, and these are called cling stamps. So they actually come off like this. The cool thing is that they're flexible. So if you had something round you were working on, you could do that. But of course, I had to buy the acrylic, and you take this cling part of it. It's called a cling stamp because it'll just cling right onto the acrylic bar, right? And then that makes it really easy for you to put it down on top of your um, on the gel press once you put your paint down. So you can either do that, or of course you can roll like I did with this one. You can still see the purple on it. You can roll the paint onto it and then put it onto your design. So these are fun. Always looking for good cling stamps for that type of application. Okay, I'm gonna put these away for a moment. Oh my gosh, I'm beginning to get a bunch of stuff around me, right? No, stop. Let's see there. Okay, I'm just gonna set these aside for the moment. I had to clear space first, make that work. Now, another thing that, oh, so this is a stamp also, but these are called, see where it says chunky stamps right there? So these work great with gel printing. Fantastic when you have the bigger or more chunky type things. And I love these. These are great. Yeah, that one in particular, I use over and over and over again. And then besides using something like that, which is a stamp, you can just go outside and get real leaves. So these are leaves from my garden. Let's see, this is a tropical heliconia leaf, and this is a nasturtium leaf, right? And this is, you're going to recognize this. It's a shamrock. There you go, shamrock right there. And so I got these a little bit ago so that we can put them on, do a print, and you'll see the effect. So you can have a lot of fun with just pulling things, pulling grass or things like this out of your garden. And it just makes it really a lot of fun. So I'm just going to set these aside a little bit. Something else that you can use with your press is stencils. So you see here, I have, these are a bunch of the Tim Holtz stencils, and the nice thing is they come with a hole in them. So there you go. I can just take the stencils and use these on the gel press as well. And so I'll show you how I do that because I love using stencils on the gel press. This is one where it's Chinese characters and same thing. Sometimes when you're using stencils like this, most of the time I put paint on and then I put the stencil over top of it. and then I might use a wipe. So you just, like little hand wipes or whatever, and I go over top of it and I remove some of the paint from the little holes that are there. And then when I remove the stencil, it leaves the design in there. So wipes are definitely very important for this this process right here. Another kind of tool, there are a couple of kind of tools besides the brayer that you might end up using. Some of them are like these are little silicone tools. Do you see the little silicone tip there? And they come in all different shapes and sizes. Actually, these are my minis. And then over here next to me, let me get a maxi. I have big ones. So same thing, it's a silicone tip tool, right? But just a different size depending on what size gel plate. And you can get gel plates that are, I think 16 by 12 is the biggest one I'm aware of right now. So yeah, they do go big if you want to just dedicate a table and put it out on your table, and they're just so much fun. You might, hopefully you're addicted by the time the workshop's over. Now, before I get started, oh, one more thing before I do that, is I wanted to show you, this is a little kit that I got from a Daler Rowney, and it has these very unusual shapes here of, you see that? That reminds me of a froggy foot right there. But they are little palette knives that have different shapes. So those are fun to run through the paint and get some different designs. Actually, I'm looking for, where did I put? I have a whole pile here of, these are silicone tools, and you see all the different shapes there. So they make really unusual, same thing, make different designs. They're just easier to hold. These are like what cake makers use to make designs in their icing, but they're artist supplies and they work fine for what we're doing as well. This one I think came from, oh, plaid. You see plaid on there. And what's nice about this one is you have a couple of different designs on it right there. And so there are different things you can do with it. Oh, we're going to have so much fun when we start working with those. Um, all right, let me see. That is it. And oh, now when as you're working on your, well, usually when I'm done with a session, and I want to somewhat clean up my my gel press, then you can use either hand sanitizer or mineral oil. So there's some mineral oil. This was just from the grocery store, or you can get it at the drugstore, because these gel plates have mineral oil inside them. And so if you want to restore them, you can use the mineral oil. But we also find that this hand sanitizer stuff also helps to clean. All right. And part of the reason for that is hand sanitizer has alcohol in it, and alcohol breaks down acrylic paint. So that helps. Even it can help with your brayers as well. If you want to get your brayers cleaned up, you can use hand sanitizer, or you can just dunk it in rubbing alcohol and leave it overnight and then clean it off the next day. It does help. Let me just move these out of the way for the moment, because that's what I do at the end, not during the beginning stages. Ah, okay. Of course, there's not a lot of room left on my table here, right? All right, let me show you a book that I adore. I've had for years. Let's see, when did this book come out, actually? It's called Jelly Plate Printing. And does it say when it came out? Huh, it just says getting started, all this stuff. Sometimes nowadays they put it in the back of the book, don't they? Um, what they used to put in the front. Yes. So it says, come on, give me a date. 2014. So what's that? That's 12 years ago, right? But it's called Jelly Plate Printing. Love this book. Great reference if you want to learn more about the process. Incredible pictures, right? Showing you the whole process, and tons of, see where it says here variations, and it shows you variations to the project that they were showing you how to do. There's just so much in here that Actually, in this one, they are using a stencil and they're using a little sponge with the stencil. I actually have here a stencil brush because oftentimes I'll use a stencil brush instead of a sponge, but you can do it either way, right? Um, Now, something you might want to do if you find a print that you like the design of, and you're like, oh my gosh, I want to save that as a reference for myself. Like, what did I do? You can laminate it. So, see how these are laminated? And that's one of the 6-inch rounds. And so that way, I just keep these in the book right here, and they are good reminders of different types of outcomes. So if you find a design that you like, then you can keep it in your, you can laminate it and then keep it in your book. Isn't that a great idea? I learned that from the folks at, some jelly printing folks. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a great idea. Okay, okay, okay. I'm keeping those in there. Now, before we get started, we are going to protect our hands. This is called Art Guard. I also have over in the other area of my studio something called silicone glove. And this is a barrier cream, a protectant cream. I could either wear gloves or I could put this cream on my hands, and it acts kind of like a silicone glove to protect my hands while I'm painting. And the reason for that is just so that when I do gel plate printing, I get paint all over my hands. And this way I can just go to the sink and wash my hands and all the paint just comes right off. So, also, if you have fingernails, what I find is helpful is put a little bit on your hand and then using your fingernails like this, you just get that underneath your fingernails, and that will help so you don't end up with paint caught underneath your fingernails. Okay. It may feel weird at first, but you'll thank me later. All right. One or two other things I see that are around me right here that I just want to share before I go up over top of the table. And that is sometimes when you've put your paint down, you want to coat it, it'll dry. So sometimes if your paint dries too fast and you don't get your paper on top of it fast enough to peel the print off, there is a way to be able to still pull that print. And that is to come back over top of the dry paint with a gel medium. So this is just acrylic paint with no color in it. And it looks white when it's wet, but it dries clear. So you would just roll this right over top of it and then put your paper down on top of the dried paint that now has a fresh coat of acrylic on it. And this will stay clear once it's dry, so it's not going to disturb the design you have down on your plate. And then you can put your paper down and then pull your print. Okay. So those are some tricks of what we like to do. Oh, another thing is most people just use their hands to go over top of the paper on top of their gel press, but I like having something called a Baron. And so this is a brand new one. I have another one in storage, y'all, but I just don't know where it is. So I broke down and I bought a new one. This is by Yasutomo, and it is a banana leaf over top of a piece of cardboard made in Japan. And it's perfect for rubbing over the back of the paper in order to get everything to stick before you pull your prints. So I love having a Baron. I think it helps a lot. I see there's something else here next to me, and it's acrylic markers. So yes, we're going to be using acrylic paint from the tubes and the little bottles on our gel press, but you absolutely can also use markers. And you can use that ink like I was showing you earlier, the India inks. You can use a brush and brush it right on to them. So we're going to play with that. Let me put my book away here and scooch over a little bit. Oh, let me show you one other thing before we go over the table. And I have this book that I call, okay, it's a big one, y'all. I call it Random Thoughts. And so this is just massive, massive pages in here. It's a big one. It's a big one. It's a moleskin art journal. It's massive. This sucker's so big, which is great when I'm laying out on a big table. But in a small space like this, it's everywhere. But I wanted to show you inside this book. You can see I'm using the smaller ones and I'm actually printing inside the book to create backgrounds. You see there? So if I have leftover paint, I just put it on one of the minis and I make backgrounds in my journals like this. And the other thing I do is because I'm constantly just going from one piece of paper to another. This is that mixed media paper I told you about from Fabriano. And here you can see there's one of the minis, there's another mini, there's another mini in the background there. So you can see that I do mini prints right on top of artwork that I already have started. Backgrounds. Nothing's safe. Nothing's safe here in my studio. Okay. We're going to go over top of the table and get started. Are in good shape at the moment. Ooh, let me move a few of these things out of the way. We are going to need the brayers. Um, Now, what I do with the brayers to clean off the brayers is I'm just cleaning them off on other pieces of paper, either in a notebook like this one that I was showing you, or maybe this evening to start. I always end up using several surfaces. So I will just take this one. This is the Creatology 90-pound watercolor paper. It's perfect. It works great. Let me show it to you again. There you go. That's what it looks like right there. Let me move a few things out of the way here. We may need a spray bottle to help keep our acrylic wet as we're working on it. Okay. So that's what I'm going to use to roll off my leftover paint onto. Okay. So I'm going to set that off to the side. Some of the times I don't do that. I just use a, what's it called? A palette pad next to me. But it depends on how many times I'm going to be switching colors. And this evening we're going to be switching colors a lot. So that's why I'm choosing to roll it off onto paper. All right, so let me just set a few of these things aside here. Texture tools. I love my art guard. Let's move the art guard over here. Okay, we're good. Let's do that. Now I need to put one of my, hold on. I only have like 50 million papers here. So let me just move that out of the way. I think I want to start with let's start with the 8x10. Oh my goodness, it's so beautiful. Don't you love brand new art supplies? Love it. Okay, so this is just in one of those clamshells, super easy. What's nice when you get it is that this has some information on the inside. Isn't that cool? It tells you how to use it. Of course, it's like in all these different languages, and then it tells you how to clean and store it, right? Isn't that awesome? And then there are a few ideas on the back here, and I believe there's also a website somewhere on here that tells you where you can go in order to get more information on it. Somewhere it is. So let's do that. Or you can just go to YouTube and look up gel press and you'll see tons of videos. Okay. But I do hang on to these clamshells and I do store my print plates back inside the clamshell. Okay. So it comes with, remember how I said it has these things on the side? You see those? The plastic. Now what we're going to do in order to keep this from sliding around, if I just took off one half to use the plate, this is going to slide. You see how it's sliding all over the place on the plastic. So I'm going to show you what we're going to do. I'm putting the plastic for storing it back inside the clamshell, and I'm going to pull this one off as well. Okay. So both of those are going back in the clamshell, and I will Keep this, it's best to wait until your press is clean and dry before you put it back in the clamshell. Okay. So let me just put that aside. Now, what a lot of people do is they'll put a piece of paper behind here. So see like this printer paper. Let's do it. I'll show you what a lot of people do. The reason I normally don't is I have my table covered with white paper anyway, and I just lay it down and I'm good to go. But I'm going to show you if you're working on a table that is not covered, what do you do? Then you take a little bit of painter's tape here, and let me see where we are. Boop. I'm just going to set this aside for a minute. And where are we? I want to make sure you'll be able to see that okay. There, yep. I have my computer across over there and I'm watching what is going on for you. So you just tape this down onto your, so let's assume it's on some other sort of table. Okay, so you just tape it down. Now this could be a printed piece of paper that has a design on it, right? Because this is clear. And so if you wanted to draw or paint something on top of the gel press, you could actually put a piece of paper underneath it with the design on it. Wouldn't that be cool? But I don't need that right now. Okay, printer paper. And then I'm going to take this. I'm trying to keep it clean. Let's see. Is it relatively clean? Yes. Look at that. It's like Jello, but harder. Isn't that awesome? These are great. Okay. Can you tell I'm excited? Yeah, I'm excited. I love gel printing. Okay. So now, let me see. It's not quite um, even in the picture. I want to try to get it as straight for you as possible. That's pretty straight, right? Um, so now what'll happen is it will attach to that piece of paper and look, it's not moving, right? So that's what you want. You don't want it attached to that plastic that it came in and have it sliding all over your table. You want it to be secure. Yay. So now um, you can either use a palette pad. Let me just show you what a palette pad is because I have one right here. Eek. So this is from Blick and it's palette paper. So palette paper is a slick paper. This is a 9 by 12. You see the slick paper? So oftentimes you will put your paint on here and then you roll it like this to get your brayer full, and then you'll put it down on here. But because we're just starting out our painting session, I don't need the palette pad right now. Let me get ooh, okay, I'm gonna knock your socks off here. This is the Origin Acrylics crazy pink, y'all. So you don't need a lot of paint. All right. You don't have to like slather a whole bunch of it on there. A little bit of paint goes a long way. Plus, if you need more, you just put more on. Okay. And what I want to do is I want to put a little bit of yellow on there too. So this is the fluorescent yellow. Bloop. So they're naturally just going to kind of blend together, right? Just a little bit of paint. All right, now it's the moment of truth. This is clean. I cleaned it the last time, but you can see they never get fully clean once you use them. And so we are gonna I'm gonna sort of do this to get it on the brayer. And then I'm gonna start rolling it like it is. And so that's, we're getting I'm kind of priming the surface here because it's brand new and it's so beautiful. But thank you, Gel Press. Thank you. Oh, that's really cool looking in the background there. Okay. So I just want to make sure I get a nice thin layer. Now I'm going to flip this over and set it down next to me. And here, I'm just using printer paper. Remember, I said you can just use printer paper, right? You don't have to use anything fancy. Brayer. I could just rub over it with my hands, but I really like the way the brayer works myself. Okay. So it's good at the beginning of your session just to roll out some paint and prime the surface. Get some paint going. Eee, oh my gosh. I don't know about y'all, but I'm in love already. That's fun, right? So this is layer one. This is a background. I'm just going to set it aside. Okay. Um, what I'm trying to do is build up some paint residue on here. Actually, right now in this bottom section, I can see a bunch of paint residue left on there, which is awesome. I love having paint residue left. Now this is a rose. So let's just put some rows out here. Maybe put some rows right there. And I just go across to get it on here. Ooh, so pretty. Okay. Loving it. And just, so you're going to be working with your brayer a lot for this. Now I've got a layer of paint on here. If I want to be able to work with the paint for a long time, meaning I want to make some shapes on top of there, then I can just spray it with a layer of water. That's why I always have a little spray bottle handy. So I can just spray it with some water and that helps to keep it moist, right? Now we can get into these little tools that we have. So this one with the little marks here, right? So let's just do this. Oh my gosh, those are so fun. Now I've got some paint on there, so I'm just going next to me on that spare paper, right? I'm putting some paint on there. And then let's keep going. Maybe I'll go this way, like this. So I'm just creating some fun designs. And let's do one in the middle. All right. So that's the use for these kind of tools. What else? Now the Q-tips, right? Remember I said Q-tips? So you want to try to work fast so your paint doesn't dry, but that's why you definitely need to keep your spray bottle handy to keep the paint wet. So with your Q-tips, you can just go in here and make dots with the Q-tips, right? And if there's too much paint on there, just use your other paper there and put it off like that. Okay, just do that. So we'll get some dots. What's going to happen is everywhere that I'm doing dots and everywhere that, well, I'm creating negative space in the areas where I'm scraping off or I'm lifting off, right? And so that's going to show up on our paper. Let's do a little bit here. There we go. So we've got bunches and bunches of little dots. So there's a lot of subtracting that you do. You put down paint and then you're subtracting paint using different types of devices like this, like a Q-tip. Q-tips are awesome. I love the dots the Q-tips make. Okay, so let's take another piece of paper. This time I'm going to use the newsprint so you can see what that looks like, how it has that kind of putty color to it. And we're going to lay it down here. Nice. And I can go over it with my hand, but I can also then go over it with any sort of flat, something that you have flat where you can hold on to it. Okay. You can even make these yourself, right? You know how in some of the craft stores they'll have those round wood, right? Round pieces of wood. So just take something and strap it over, and you see what they do with the banana leaves. They just strap them on there, and it works great. It's called a Baron, B-A-R-R. I think it's double R, Barren, but it could be one R. I'm not sure. Okay, here we go with the newsprint. All right, how did we do? Nice. Okay, that's fun. So there is our print. You see how everywhere that I lifted the paint up, you're getting those little dots there and the little squiggles. Awesome. And now what we have left here is called a ghost print. There's enough paint left on there that I can pull it again. So I'm going to pull it on a piece of white printer paper so you can see what the ghost looks like. And sometimes I like the ghost better than the original print, especially when you start building up layers. Oops, hold on a second. I need to pull up my show so I can see. Yes, Craft Owl said, gel printing is so much fun. Indeed. Here I am. I did not pull up my comments there on Whatnot. I see the comments on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, if you could give the show a thumbs up, that would be awesome. Thank you. And if you're new to my channel, please follow. Oh, thanks for the hearts. Yay, I've finally got my my screen up for Whatnot. Yay. Okay, so what are we doing? We're pulling a ghost print, right? Yes. All right, here we go. Nice. Very cool. Very cool. So there is our ghost print. Isn't that fun? Oh my gosh. Now, these are great for just creating multiple layers on, right? That is, see, this is what happens. You start ending up with mm, oh, the bubble wrap gel printing. I know, Craft Out. You put down the bubble wrap. Let's do that next where we put something down on there. So let me do let's say I'm just looking at some of these because what you're going to do is pull more layers on top of here. So maybe on this one right here, this one would be kind of fun. So I'm going to put some green on here. Let me see what color green I want to use. Okay, I want to use this. No, which one? Which one? I don't want to overpower the pink and the yellow. Let's use this one. Love that. So this is a tube of paint from Golden, right? One of my favorite colors, Titan Green Pale. Do you see that there? It says Titan Green Pale. I love this color. That's why I love this other color so much of, where did I put it? Where did I put the other paints here? Oh, I must have left it here on the table somewhere. That other color of, all right, where did you go? This is what I do. I lose things directly in front of me, right? There it is. It slid off. That's why. Lucas, right? You see how they're about the same color? I just, there's something about that. I still have pink on my brayers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll my brayer off onto the paper that was next to me. And I'm not going to worry too much. It's an uh, imperfect process that we're doing here. And so I'm going to get some of this light green. Beautiful. Titan green pale. Okay. Ooh. So you can cover the whole thing, not cover the whole thing. You can do half one color and half another color, whatever blows your hair back, right? Now, I call it my ADHD goblins taking my stuff, right? Craft towel. So true. So I have a bunch of paint on here. I was showing earlier, here is my serendipity paper, right? So I can just take this and roll it till there's no more on there. And then it'll be ready for the next go around, right? I have so much here. Let me just paint. It looks like I got a little bit off the edge there. Do it a little bit more. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take some of these like nasturtium leaves, right? So I'm just gonna put a nasturtium leaf there. And let's see, I got 3 different sizes of nasturtium leaves when I was out in my garden, like that. And then a little bitty one for up here. There's a little tiny one. Maybe I'll put that little tiny one up here. And then for the bottom, I have some shamrocks, right? Some clover. Come on, clover. Undo the clover leaves. So this is a fun thing you can do with just natural things from your garden, right? It's so fun. So fun. Okay, there we go. And then we're going to have a negative when we're done with this also, which will be super cool as well. So we'll put these leaves down. Let's see. There's a little one here. Maybe I'll throw the little one up here next to that other little one. I like the way the clover heart leaves look like little hearts. I didn't find a four-leaf clover. Botanicals are always great. Yes, they are. Love the botanicals. Okay, there we go. Like that. Awesome. So now, that first one that I did here, right? Let's just, now we're going to pull another layer right here. And let's get that on there approximately in the same place, approximately. And now I'm going to use the Baron to press it on there. The golden paints tend to stay wet a little bit longer. So I find with the golden paint, that's the brand here, Golden, that I generally, and also with the Pebeo, not the Origin ones, the Studio acrylic ones. Let me see, like this Studio acrylic, they tend to stay wet longer. Okay, so let's just try to get everything up that's around those leaves and things, right? There we go. And then we'll see what happens. Yeah, there we go. Oh my gosh, that's so much fun. So that is the layering effect with, these are called masks. So we're using masks there and creating our various layers, right? And then now we're going to take these little guys and we're going to pull them off. And these are pretty done, I think. Just gently pull them off of here. They're leaving paint. Oh my gosh, that's going to be so much fun. So then there's that. Let's pull these off pretty quickly so they don't dry up too much. If they do dry, just put another layer of paint right over top of it and then pull the other layer of paint and they'll come off with it. Okay. So it's like no muss, no fuss, all fun. Okay, let's see here. These are so cool. These nasturtium come out so cool. Okay, so now I'm going to take this other one right here and I'm actually going to spray that just a little bit to make sure that they're nice and active and ready to go. I've added matte medium. Yes, Craft Owl. Matte medium works great to put over top of them. Okay, so now I'm looking here, trying to get it just about, it doesn't matter for sure, but just to sort of get it over top of this one. I did put the water on it, so the water's soaking through just a little bit in some areas where there was the negative print, right? Instead of paint. Yes, I love using the matte medium instead of paint. Oh, show. Okay, cool. Let's use the Baron just to be sure we get good connection here. So even though I start with my hands, I like to come back with the Baron and make sure I've got good contact all over. Okay. Yeet. So we've got some of it coming up. Of course, if this were a little bit darker than this, it would have, you'd have more drama, right? But they're both just about the same color. All right, let's pull a ghost print. Let's just do a ghost print. Ooh, okay, maybe we will. No, that's still a little bit wet, so we need to do a ghost print. But let's do a ghost print with the this was the deli paper. So the deli paper is shiny on one side and dull on the other side. So we want to use the dull side to pull our prints, okay? So I'm just going to pick up this little bit of leftover paint with my deli paper. And I love using the deli paper that has these prints on it for collage material because it's nice and thin and it just sort of melts into the background really well. Okay, there we go. I don't know if we're going to get it all. Love the inspiration, but I've got to go. Have a great show. Thank you, Craft Owl. Loved having you pop in. Thank you so much. You have a great evening. All right, let's pull this up right here. So we're pulling some of it off. There we are. So some of it came off onto there. You can see, but this is like our junk paper, okay? We're going to be using that to just keep pulling off excess, whatever we have excess. Now let me show you what's starting to happen here. Oh, isn't that pretty? Yes, we're starting to get some prettiness over here. And we have a little bit of paint left on the edges here that's dry. That's perfectly fine. That's because we're priming the surface. We're pulling prints and we're getting it going, right? Now, I want to show you the technique with hmm, stamp first, then stencil. Okay, stamp first. So we're going to use this stamp. And what I'm looking at this one to see what sort of color we want to put over top of it. Okay, let's see, maybe a bold yellow. What about a bold yellow? I could do a bold red, but I think a bold yellow would be better. Okay. Yee, primary yellow. Let's try this. Now, of course, this is not in a tube, it's in a pot, but that's okay. I'll just use a palette knife and I'll grab out some of the paint here. And I'll just slather a little bit of it on. And I do like a pot. The reason I have big pots like this is the Origin acrylics from Pebeo Primary Yellow. But I love the pot size because of the way you can take the paint out and then you just put it back in like that. So you don't, it's very little waste compared sometimes to the tubes. And what size is this? 480 milliliter. Love that size. I have that size. I have smaller sizes, but I do like the pots. What's the heck? I like it all, right? Welcome in there. I love chairs. Welcome in, welcome in. We're doing some um, gel press printmaking, monotype making today. Now I have a lot of color on here. A lot of color. I probably put too much color. So can you ever have too much color? I don't know. But I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to take this um, foamy. I guess some of them are called foamies. This one was from my church. See, it was 25 cents at my church. But I'm going to take the foamy and I'm going to put it down and I'm going to press and lift up some of the paint. Bink. Okay, so now I've got that on there. And that leftover paint is going on my serendipity paper that I have over here, right? Which is for the reason of getting rid of paint like this. Oops, let's do that. Let's move that out of the way. So I can use the excess paint, always using the excess paint somewhere else. Okay, let me do this here off the edge like that. Nice. Let's go in here. And then I'll do another one right here. Oh, there we go. That's why you need sort of the big chunky ones. They work, I find they work better on the gel press here. Okay, I'm just putting the excess paint over here. Now I got a little bit of excess paint on the edge here, so I can either use a paper towel or like I said, I like to have these wipes handy. and just take that little bit of excess off with that. I'm sure I'll be using the wipes more and more as we go. But if I get excess on the edges here, I just try to get that up a little bit before I go too far. There we go. It's ready. Let's do this over here. So I'm just covering the whole thing here with these. Nice. Isn't that awesome? Awesome. It's going to look great. So let me just do this one this way, like this. Chunky. So this again is just removing. I'm using a stamp to remove some of the paint. And earlier, what did we do? We used a Q-tip to remove some of the paint. Okay, nice. Oh, let me just get that off of there. I like where the serendipity paper is going over here. It's looking good. And there's a little bit extra here, a little bit of extra here. And then let me just go off the edge here just a little bit. Do that and lift that. Okay. Ooh, that looks fun. I see a little bit more of an area where I want to do something, and that's up here, like this on the edge. And then over here, of course, on the edge. So I'm just working the design around. And you see where it can be helpful to have a paint that has a little more moisture to it. Um, okay, let's just do this right here. All right, nice. All right. And I just use that all up on the serendipity paper. Let me put that aside. Ah, so pretty. All right, let's just see what happens when we pull it on here. Right, we're playing, so it doesn't matter. I'm not being totally purposeful. Where if you were trying to do final artworks, a specific design in layers, after you practice a while, then you're going to know what it is that you want to do. You'll know, you'll be able to predict a little bit better what the outcome is going to be. And then you can be a little more purposeful in your layering. All right. So let's do this. I can see that this, what's it called? The newsprint is wrinkling a little bit, where the printer paper doesn't wrinkle so much. But you know what? It's all good, y'all. It's all good. Here we go. Ooh, interesting. Okay. Wow. I'm actually loving where that is going. Isn't that nice? Ah, they're so pretty. Okay. Now we've got another negative here, and we've actually lifted up quite a bit of the negative space there. So this is going to be a little sharper. Let's do it on top of this one right here and just see what happens, right? We're just going to see what happens here. What I'm trying to do is I'm looking through the paper at the light to get the edges, like where are the edges of it, so I can sort of line it up. What some people do is they'll put around the outside here, if they know what size paper they're working with, they'll put a little bit of mat board around the outside so that they can line it up perfectly every time. Okay, so that is definitely something you can also do. I'm just doing it by eye and not worrying too much about it. Another thing that you can do is if you have a single piece of paper and you want to print multiple layers, you can tape the edge of the paper above or on the side and then flip it over, add more paint, flip it back, flip it over, add more paint, flip it back. And that's another way that you can keep it, what we call keep the registration the same for each time. But I'm not so worried about that. And especially if you're creating, let's say you're using the rice paper, which we'll do in a few minutes, and you're going to tear up the rice paper and use it for collage, then you don't need to do that either. Ooh, I'm excited. I am excited of how this is going to go. Okay, here we are. Hey there, Mariel Studio. Welcome in, welcome in. We're doing some gel printing today. Ooh, interesting, interesting. Just adding more design on top of what we already have there. Layer, 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 right? Okay, let me just set that aside. Now, of course, we have some leftovers here, and the leftovers are getting pretty dry. So this is where um, you you can just roll more color right over top of it. You can actually, if you want to, walk away, go to lunch, let this dry, and come back and put a different color on top of it, which would be the bottom, right? When you pull it, let's do that. I'm going to take this where I have spare paint and I'm going to grab another notebook. This is what happens. You always end up with a whole bunch of notebooks with paint on them. And I'm just going to roll this out like this. So this becomes the background for something else. Just get that paint off of there because I want to go with a little bit darker color, right? Oh my gosh. You can see all those little bits of pink in there that were left over. It's all good. That does not matter at all when you're just making abstracted backgrounds. That's fine. Oh, that's a beautiful color. Okay. So let's say in the background here, I want something a little bit darker. So let's put a, ooh, what about a nice dark blue? Let's try it. Let's try it. I'm not sure if it's dry enough, but we'll give it a try. This is cerulean blue. So in this case, I may not want to dot it on here. I may want to get the brayer covered with paint first and then dot it on here and then put it on there. So to do that, in this case, I'm going to use my palette paper pad. So I'm just going to make like a little, little thing like that, a little line. And that way I can use the brayer like this and I can roll it and that will get the brayer covered in paint, right? And now I can just go right over top of what was already there without disturbing it as much. That way I can preserve more of the design that was there. Let's do this. Nice. Okay, let's get a little bit more there. See what happens. Right. That's why you're going to find brayers, these with different sizes. You can even get wider. Like I think this is a 4 inch. You can get 6 inch, 7 inch. And that is so that you can get a wider area, right? Without having overlapping lines like I have right now. But I'm not worried about the overlapping lines. I'm not. Now I'm going to take what's left and I'm going to go on to my serendipity paper here. And I'm just going to get it off. So the serendipity paper is off to the side. It's just a piece of watercolor paper. And I am. Now, the cool thing about these serendipity papers like this, where you're just cleaning things off, is that this is going to become a artist trade cards or the background for a collage or something like that. Isn't that fun? So we're not wasting paint. I have a no paint left behind policy in my studio, right? So let's just put it on right over top of this. Hopefully it's still wet enough that it will go right over top of this. And let's see what happens. I don't know. We'll see together. That blue may have been too dry by the time I pulled this. And we'll be able to see in just a second. I'll be able to tell you if the blue was too dry or not. And because the blue had yellow underneath it, I didn't want to spray it with water because if I did, the blue and the yellow might, they might blend, they might mush together. And I don't want that. So let's just try this. If you weren't here earlier, this is called a Baron. And it's just a disc. This one's from Yasutomo, made in Japan. This is a disc, like a wood disc with a banana leaf over it. Okay, let's see what we got. See, the blue didn't come off. Okay. So the blue is barely coming off because it was a thin layer and it's dried. But how can I get that blue off of there, y'all? That's where I was telling you that you can use just a gel medium, or you can also use, so this is a gel medium in a tube. Let me see, I also have my golden matte medium here, which is a fluid matte medium. So either one of these, pretty like that, thank you. So either one of these will work. Let's use the fluid matte medium from Golden right now. And so I'm just going to put a little bit of this on here. Boop, 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 boop. And we're going, because this is wet, right? That's wet. So we're going to just put the clear on top of here because the blue got dried up. That's okay. The yellow's dried, the blue is dried, but it's fine. It's fine. We can still get it up. So, and there are some techniques with gel printing that ask you to let it dry before you pull it back up. Okay. So I think I will do a fresh piece of paper for this. So for the fresh piece of paper, what paper do I want to use? I want to use my Yasutomo Sumie paper, right? Yasutomo Sumie paper. I love this paper. I use it a lot. I use it for Asian brush painting, but also use it for marbling, and I use it for gel printing. So it's the sketch paper 6H is the thick enough paper, the Sumie paper. Um, Beautiful paper. So there's a smooth side and a rough side. You can use either side. I'm going to use the rough side right now. And I'm just going to put this down here. There we go. Okay. And let's use the Baron. Now, sometimes you'll find when you have dry paint that you may need to put another layer of paint, or as we did, a medium of some sort, an acrylic medium, and then let it sit for a while before you pull it. But we'll be able to see in just a moment. But sometimes you have to let the paint dry on the paper, um, that last layer, before you can pull all the layers off. So we shall see here in just a moment. I love the experimental properties of doing this kind of thing. So cool. All right, let me start in this corner. Ah, it's beginning to come up. I don't know if you can see that. Let me try it over here and see if it comes up. Yes, can you see the blue on the paper? Right? So I didn't need to wait for it to completely dry. All right, that took most of it up. Nice. Isn't that awesome? Now, it doesn't have the same look that I was expecting with the yellow, but it doesn't matter. It's just another layer, y'all. But it did pull a beautiful print as a background, right? Okay, okay, awesome. Now I've got some leftover paint on here, so or a gel medium that is. So I'm just gonna roll it off. Let's roll off the medium. Because if I try to put paint on with the medium on there, it's just going to get mushy. We don't want that. No mushy. Okay. Now there's some of that blue left on. I don't care. There's some blue, there's some yellow. Beautiful. Thank you, Marielle Studio. So there's some of the remnants on there, and I don't mind that. I'm okay with that. Now, if you don't want remnants, these little remnants will appear on the very top level of your uh, print, because of course you'll be putting paint over top of that, and that will be like scattered on the top of your print, right? If you don't like that, you can use a wipe and you can come in and spray it with water and take it off. But I love the remnants. I adore the remnants. So we're going to leave the remnants on. Now, a light background that I like to make is with sort of creamy colors, right? So this is a Naples yellow. Love Naples yellow. So realizing that I have this blue on here, let me go ahead and put a little bit of little bit of Naples yellow on here. I think it'll look great as remnants with the Naples yellow. So let's put that on there. Now, if I want to grunge it up a little bit and not make it look so one colory, I can come in here with a little bit of something, something else. I'm thinking of a yellow ochre. Oof. No, not enough contrast. Let's use the, what if I put a copper? Okay, copper. That's the thing. There's so many possibilities, y'all. Here's some copper. Copper is pretty. So let's just whack a little bit of copper in there and see what happens. Okay, this copper is the Pebeo Studio acrylics. I love the metallics from Pebeo. Okay, there we go. So let's just put a little bit of that metallic on there. Fabulous, especially with that little bit of sort of turquoise or blue on the other side, the cerulean. The copper will look amazing with that. Okay, so I don't know how much of the copper is going to show through, but that's okay. Nice. Like it, I like it, I like it. All right. So what am I going to use? Yee. Let's use the deli paper again. I love the deli paper on here. Deli paper usually has a fold in it. I actually, in my studio, I have some 12 by 12 deli paper that is not folded, which is kind of cool. But I'm using the waxy side up, right? Waxy side up. But I had to hold it like that so that I don't have too much of a seam in the middle, right? Oh, love this. Nice. I almost feel like I don't need a Baron, but I'm going to use the Baron anyway. There we go. Nice. Do we pull it or do we wait? Well, I'll begin the pull and we'll see what happens. I don't think the blue is going to come off at the moment. Ooh, some of the blue is coming off, but not enough. Okay, so we have to leave that for a moment and just let it sort of percolate in there. It's interesting because I'm getting lots of little wrinkles in it right now too, which is it's fine. That's part of the fun of using deli paper, right? Is that you're going to get that. Now, you don't want to heat the gel plate, but you can warm the paper. So I'm not using it directly on the gel plate, right? And I'm keeping it moving because I don't want it to be too hot. So you definitely don't want to heat up the gel plate too much, but you can sort of get the process of drying going for the paper. Oop, come on, you go back in there. Thank you. All right. Is it just about? It's a little bit more, a little bit more. Ooh, okay. Let me get rid of this roller here. Maybe I'll wait. I'll roll some more out again. Okay, that helped a little bit. See, it's pulling more of the color off. Nice. You see how we have some of that left over coming up with it? Awesome. Okay, and wow. I don't know if you can see it, but along the edges here, you've got that super shimmery copper. Love that. Okay, okay. Let's put some more copper on here. No, let's use some gold. That's the thing. You can just go from tube to tube to tube. So this is the Studio Acrylics Gold. So I'm going to put some gold out here, but I also have some of that other color on here, right? So let me just this way. I'm not completely covering the whole thing with an even coat. I'm sort of giving it an uneven coat, which I love that effect. So I've got a bunch of splotches of gold on there. Okay, so now that I've got the paint on there, what I like about the studio acrylics from Pebeo is they stay open a long time for you to work with them. So let's get a stencil. Let's do a little stencil work here. Blah. Okay, what do we have? What do we have? So we've got some cool looking stencils here. And come on. I'm just flipping through them to find something that like that's kind of cool, right? We've got that going right there. All right. I just use a little ring like this since they have a hole in them. It holds them together really well. There we go. And then let's take this, and you can do it either this way or this way. It doesn't matter which way you do it, but let's just put it right on here. Lay that down. Now I can use this, right? I can use one of these. It's getting a little dry, so I'm just going to get it just moist. And I can come in and I can wipe away the area inside the stencil. This is one way of doing it. Of course, I could have done a print already, but what I want to do is I want to wipe away the stencil here and wipe away the stencil over here, okay? So I've got the design twice on the surface here. So I'm wiping away the paint that's inside there. Let's see here. Do, 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 do. It's okay to lose that paint. It's all right. So if I were working on a smaller, maybe the 5x7 or something, I might leave that and not, I would pull the first print and then lift this and then pull the second print. But because I'm going to use it twice on this large size here, I'm not going to do that. So I'm just getting it all out there as much as I can out of the spaces. So you want to stencil that has large spaces in it. All right, then we're going to lift this up. Yee. And I'm actually going to turn it over and put it over here. You go like that. And then I'm going to do it again. Okay. You do have to be careful. Like I have this little tiny, tiny bit right there that just lifted. So yee. You need stencils that are very robust, right? Okay, let's do that. A little bit more here. And then we're going to pull the print. Or I could wait for it to dry and then put a dark dramatic color in the background. So oftentimes when I'm pulling prints like this, monotypes, I actually have several of these plates going at one time in different sizes. So if I needed this one to dry, I could move over to my other plate and be working on the other plate while this acrylic paint dries, and I come back and put another layer and pull the print, right? Makes sense? Okay, let's keep going. I almost have it all up. Neato. Okay, I almost have it all. So this is one way of doing a stencil, but it does help to have a damp, your damp wipes. They definitely come in handy for um, this kind of technique. Okay, I think I got it. I think I got it. So let's lift this up. Boop. Nice. Interesting design. Now, normally, if I'm going to use stencils like this, I have right next to me at my table, which I don't have right now, a um, a butcher tray full of water, and then I just dunk this right in the butcher tray full of water, But since I don't have that, I'm going to set it on my serendipity paper right next to me here. And then I'm going to wipe it down. And what'll happen is the paint that's on there will go down inside the design. So that's what I'm doing right now. Is I know it's a little off camera here. That should be on camera, but I'm trying to wipe that off, the paint that was there, and naturally it'll just go down inside the holes there. So on my serendipity paper, I will have a little bit of this design. Okay, there we go. And at least that way my stencil will get a little bit clean, right? Since I don't have my water thing next to me. I have a little short on YouTube that shows how I clean my stencils if they have acrylic paint all over them. And all you have to do is use rubbing alcohol. So I put rubbing alcohol in here and then I spray the stencil, leave it for a minute, and then I wipe it down with a wipe, and then that usually takes care of it. Okay, let's see. Are you dry yet? I don't know if it's dry yet. I could either pull the print like this, or what I'm trying to do is wait for it to, I was just going to put a black or a dark background on it. Maybe I'll just use this background right here. Let's see. I'm looking to see if I have any other dark backgrounds. I have not made any other dark backgrounds. That's why it's helpful to make some dark backgrounds as you're working, because then you have some dark backgrounds to pull from. Let's see. How dry are you? Almost dry. Okay. I'll just give it another second. But there, this is now wiped off and ready for the next adventure. Okay, here we go. If you have a little fan, you can hold your little fan over it and have it dry it for you. Um, Dramatic color in the background. What do we want? Ooh, how about this like dramatic emerald phthalo blue, phthalo green? This is a great mixing color, y'all. This PG7 says monopigment PG7. So PG7 is an intense green that is great for color mixing. But in this case, it has a very emerald look to it. In this case, I think I'm just going to put some on. Where'd it go? Here we go. I'm going to put it on here and roll it out on my brayer. Whoop. There we go. It has that very emeraldy look to it, doesn't it? Okay, here we go. Whoop, not enough. I'm going to have to put more on there. I can tell I'm going to have to put more on it. It's okay, but it's not great. Hey, Annette collects and sells. Welcome in, welcome in. Good to see you over on Whatnot. Okay, so we are doing gel press printing, monotype printing, and I'm using acrylic paints and a brand new gel press that I just pulled out. The gel press folks were kind enough to send me a new one. I have one, but you know, they get grungy over time, right? Mine's probably 6 years old or so, and it's been through a lot. So they were kind enough to send me a new one. So we started absolutely fresh. All right, so I've got paint on here. Wish me luck. There we go. So we have a design from a stencil on there right now, and I'm going over top of that. I want to maintain the stencil design so that we can pull the print. Ooh, I can see the stencil design. You might not be able to see it um, because it's kind of subtle in the background there. I was waiting as long as I could for the background to dry before putting this layer on top of it. Okay, do I have enough paint here? Let me see. I'm working on a piece of palette paper right now, but I could just be working on a piece of watercolor paper. That also works if I want to save the background paint. Yee. Okay, a little bit more. There we go. Oh, That is going to be so much fun. Okay, I think because it's a double layer, I'm going to use my rice paper. Rice paper. This is the Yasutomo 6H. Oh, you see it? Excellent, excellent. I'm glad, I'm glad. So this is the Yasutomo. It's they call it sketch paper, but it's their calligraphy paper pad 6H. It's a nice thick rice paper. So I'm going to put this down on here. Love this for printing. Love, love, love it for printing. It's a great paper, but I can also use mixed media paper. That works too. But let's go ahead. Um, I put the rough side down because I like the way that the rough, because Asian papers, calligraphy papers, they have a rough side and a smooth side. So you can use either side, but I like to put the rough side down when I'm doing this kind of jelly printing or gel press type printing. Okay, and I'm using a Baron. So it's a Yasutomo Baron, and I'll have links to these supplies in the description of the video. So let's do this. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So I'm going to warm the back of the paper. I was saying don't put heat directly on the gel press, but to help with the adhesion of the multiple layers, I like to warm the back of the paper. Not directly on the press, but yes, on the paper. And keep it moving. Keep it moving. You don't want the press to get hot. Okay, like this to help with that. And then we'll see whether it's ready or not to come up. Me? Okay, fingers crossed. You never know. I'm going to take this and just, I have my serendipity paper next to me, and I'm just going to roll it off onto the serendipity paper here. Okay, there we are. Wish me luck. Oh, yes, it's coming. Ah, life is good. Life is good. It's picking up quite a bit of it there. Nice. Okay, so this was using the stencil and wiping away some of the design through the stencil. And so now on the paper, you can see the stencil design, right? There. And I use that, the Naples yellow and the gold is that first layer. And then if I had put a little bit more of that green on there, you'd have less of the white. You see the white right there? Because I didn't really like put tons of the green on. If I had put tons of the green on, you would see the tree design just a little bit more. But it's perfect for being able to use that as a background, right? And put more, look, it's trying to pull something else up. What is it doing? Okay, let's see. What else do we want to do on here? Um, I have a stencil brush. So why don't we put a little bit of paint and use a stencil and the other way? Hold on. So what I just did was I laid a stencil down and then I wiped through it to pull up the paint. But now what I want to do is use a stencil brush and lay down the paint. So let's see here. Whoop. What do I want to do that with? I really like this one right here, but of course it's at the very end, right? So let me close this and flip it over. And now I should be able to get it out. Yay. Okay. So this one is really cool. I don't know if you can see that. It's got a neat like spatter pattern on it. So maybe we can try that with the stencil brush. Let's see how that goes. A lot of times when I'm working on the gel press, I'm just experimenting and playing and having a good time. So let's put this down on here. that spatter design. And the cool thing is, because this is plastic, it just sticks right on there. And let's get some paint. Well, I think I'm going to move it in just a little bit more like that, so I can put another one over here, right? Eek. Okay. So now what I usually will do is get a little plate. So I'm just looking here for my little plates, my little plastic plates. And I'll put a little bit of acrylic paint on there. Ooh, let's do the copper. I just love the copper. The copper is so beautiful. I use the copper a lot. I actually have big tubes of this. It's the Pebeo Studio Acrylics copper. Oh, love it. I've used it for years, like 15 years, something like that, since I got turned on to it. So I put the copper there, and then you have to do this with the brush to get it on the brush. You don't want to have too much paint on the brush, just enough to go through the little holes there. And then I'm pouncing up and down. Come on, get in the holes. That's the thing. I may need a smaller stencil brush. I don't know. We'll just keep trying to get it to go into the holes there. Come on. This is what you can do on fabric too. If you have fabric paint, you can put your you can use this with fabric too, y'all, and with fabric paints. I don't know if you knew that, but yeah, you can lay your fabric right on top of here with fabric paint on it. So the possibilities, of course, are endless. Okay, let's keep trying to get more of the paint through there, through the stencil. Come on, copper. Since it's the first time I'm using the brush tonight, it's eating a lot of paint, isn't it? So just like this, pouncing to get it through the holes there. That. Then I will move it and put some more paint down here. I like the random spatter pattern that's in this one. Okay. I may not finish the whole thing because my hand is going, what are you doing to me, Mama? Okay. It's okay. It's okay. I don't know if you can see that. I want to be sure you can see what I'm doing here to pick up the paint. So you just want to have some sort of paper plate or something that you can do this on. Okay. Don't want too much paint on there. Okay, in the holes. Get in the holes. There we go. Just pounce it up and down. Plaid, the company Plaid has a nice pack of these stencil brushes. They have a really nice pack of them. Okay. So that looks like it's good enough for there. And then what I'm going to do is take this up from here. Whoop. Yes, spatter design. Now I'm going to turn it upside down. And I'm going to put it right here. So now we've got heavy spatter here, and we're going to have heavy spatter here. Right? So I'm going to go back in. Now my brush is primed, and it's not eating up all the paint. It's actually the paint is sitting on top of it. And so it's going into the stencil a lot better. There we go. Nice. Very cool. Very cool design from Tim Holtz. All right. You want a kind of thick, you want the acrylic when you're doing the stencils like this, you want it to be kind of thick. If I use the fluid paint like this, I can use the fluid paint over top of it. But to put it in the stencils, those craft paints, the fluid craft paints are a little bit too wet. And when you lift up your stencil, they run. Okay. So that's why I like using the paints that are a little bit, that have a little bit more body to them. Come on now, get down in there. Get in those little holes. I know it's not easy to get it down inside there. As I'm doing it, I'm kind of moving this around like this so that it gets down inside the little holes and all the little cracks and crevices there. Okay, nice, fabulous. And then, all right, Julio, almost done. I'm not getting all the holes, but it's good enough. Good enough. Okay. And then, like normally I just bloop, put that into water um, in order for it to dry, to stay moist so I can clean it later. But for right now, I'm just going to run it on. I'm going to put some on here because what? This is our serendipity paper, right? So I'm just going to use up the paint before I actually put it in the water. Blink. There we go. And then also when I pick this up, nice, I've got paint on here, right? So let me use a clean sheet of paper. Well, it's not completely clean, but here's a different sheet. And I can put this down on here like that. Or let's do it the other way. I can put it down on here like this. And then I can use a wipe. Let me get another wipe. I'm waiting for that to dry for a minute. Okay, I'm going to get a wipe and I'm going to wipe the white across the stencil and push that copper down inside on the paper. I'm going to clean it at the same time as I'm pushing some of the paint down onto the background. So this yellow background is just a background from paint that we had on the roller earlier. Oh, nice. Okay. So I don't know how much of it went through, but we'll find out here. Bloop. Interesting, right? It gives a really cool design. Let me move it over a little bit. And I still have some on here. So let's just rub it a little bit more and see if we can get more of the paint off of there. It's just moving all over. That's okay. Doesn't matter. This is background material, right? And we're getting our stencil clean at the same time. Okay, here we go. I'll just clean it off just a little bit more with the wipe while I have it here. And that way it's not as hard to clean it again later. But what I'm doing, I'm stalling. I'm stalling, y'all, because I want this to, come on, I want it to dry, but I don't want to take my heat gun to it, my heat tool, because I don't want to heat up the gel press, right? No, 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 no. I don't want to heat up the gel press. Okay, so that copper looks really cool. And I just cleaned this off. Ooh, there's a little bit on the other side. And I'm just over here on my serendipity paper, which who knows if, you know what? If you don't like the result of all of your clean off on this paper that's on the side, all you have to do is coat it in a coat of gesso and then bloop, cover it all up and start over again, right? So no worries, but at least it gives you the opportunity to possibly have created something else over here. All right, it's not quite dry yet. Come on, come on, dry, dry, dry. I'm not going to worry about it too much. Okay, what we're going to work on this time. Ooh, you know what? I'm going to use a stamp. I'm going to use a stamp. Let's do that before I do like a whole layer. I showed you earlier, right? This is a egg carton. Oh my gosh, it's an egg carton. And you can use it to make impressions. Let me see, there's another one here that's a little bit, I see, look at this. I look at the bottom of my egg cartons and I see what the designs are. Am I crazy or what? See, this design is round. This design is a square. And this design is very different, right? So we're going to use this one right now while that's still drying a little bit. And I'm going to, going to decide what color I want to do that in. So what color do I want? What color do I want? I think I'm going to do this fluorescent green. Okay. And so I need to get it on the roller so I can roll it onto here. Okay. And so again, I'm going to go back to my, this is palette paper. So we've got palette paper here. So I can put a color on here like this, put a little line of it, and then roll it and just slide it and then roll it to get it on the brayer. Not enough. Okay, I'm going to need more. I'm going to need more. Let's get some more here. So there is the acrylic paint. And we're going to go like that. And then, ooh, okay, good. Got a nice amount of acrylic paint on there on the roller. Now what? We're going to take the roller and we're going to roll it over the design here. Ooh, I'm going to have to set it down. Well, I can't set it down because of the tops. That's okay. I'm just sort of doing it the best I can. Bloop, bloop, bloop. Right? Kind of crazy, but that's the idea is where we can do crazy things with the gel prints. One of the reason being that the gel plate is it is you can press on it. So because you can press on it, they call it a gel press. Um, so you can take really weird things like this and you can press it into it and get really fun designs. Okay, I'm just making sure everything is nice and fresh here. Okay, let's see what happens. Maybe I'll just put this right down the middle, right? Okay, press, 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 press. Just do something different. Ooh, those circles are cool looking. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. We are gonna put some circles. This is gonna get very dirty, but you know what? It does not matter. Doesn't matter. We're gonna pick some more up and just do one side and put that a little bit further over here, right? So I'm just gonna do some circles over here like that. Okay, I'm in love. I'm in love. So now I want to do this side over here. Let's get some paint on there, more paint, fresh paint. And we'll hold it over here. And let's see, where do I want it here? About like that. So now we're going to do it again. Press, right? Is this nutso? But at least I'm keeping this egg carton out of the recycle bin landfill. And I'm creating designs right on there. Oh, that is so much fun. Yes. And I've got a whole bunch of stuff going here. So I'm going to use this leftover fluorescent green. And this needs a little zhuzh, right? We need a little zhuzh over here. So I'm just going to put it right there. Using up the that fluorescent green on my serendipity paper. Oh, that helped. That brightened part of that up. Okay. Oh, that is so much fun. So much fun. But I need to let it dry for a moment. So while that's drying, before I put another color on the background, let's look at some of these that I was telling you about, the petites. I love the petites, okay, because you can, oh, I should have rolled that leftover paint right onto here, shouldn't I have, but that's okay. So let's take this right here. I'm going to put a little bit of the rose. What color is this called? Vivid Pink. That's the Pebeo Origin Acrylics. And I have a smaller roller. Where did I put you? There it is, underneath here. Mm, don't fall over. Things are falling over, which is typical. Okay, so I have smaller roller. So I can just do the smaller roller over here. Okay, not enough paint. I definitely need more paint than that. There we go. It's a little, I mean, there's paint there, but it's not as much as I want. So let's add some more. Yeah, this will be better. So the cool thing is you can work with the small petite shapes. Now I've got a little bit of pink over here, so I can either use a paper towel. Let's just grab a paper towel real quick, or I can use one of my wipes. Bloop. There we go. And then I'm just going to get that off of there. And now I can make marks in here. What are we going to make marks with? Hold on, hold on. I've got, these are using styrofoam. I made my own, um, this is just a piece of cardboard and some styrofoam glued to it. So I've made some of my own stamps. This one right here is a nice looking one. Maybe I can do that one. And what else? What else? Ooh, there are little hearts here. Will they fit on there? I don't know if they'll fit on there, but the cool thing is this is clear, so I can turn it over and I can do this and see if the hearts will fit on there or not. They're a little bit big. Okay, that's all right. I will use this little guy that's on a cork and impress it. So I'm making some interesting shapes here. And I'm just taking what's left over to my serendipity paper here and putting it on there. Nice. There we go. Oops. I didn't mean to do that. I put it on the plastic. It's okay. Okay. Interesting. Interesting. I'm getting some interesting shapes there. Right now, I want to wipe this off right away because otherwise it gets paint down inside there and then you don't have a design anymore. And I just used I used a, what is that thing called? Let me find one. One of these to make the shapes in just a piece of styrofoam. You know, like when you get meat at the market, oh, it's called a stylus. So I just used a stylus to make shapes in here. But you want to be sure that you're cleaning these out right away because otherwise the acrylic paint dries in there and then you don't have the design anymore. Okay, let's take this. Ooh, hold on. I have to get my notebook where I already started some stuff like this. And so it helps to have these acrylic backgrounds, right? Um, these acrylic pieces, and you can look through it and see where it is and put it right where you want it on your notebook. So there you go. There's a print right there. And there's actually a ghost print. Let's see what the ghost print looks like. There's a little bit of paint left on there, right? Oh my gosh, that took almost all the paint off, right? So I do that a lot as I sit here and I will do little ghost prints. Let's try this again. There's a little bit of pink left on there, left on the roller. Not much though. Okay, let's use this one right here. And I'll just put it down on there. And now I've got some blocks there. And let's get this and put it here going this way. Boop. There you go. Isn't that fun? Oh my gosh, these minis are awesome. Or they call them petites. Now I have this little bit of paint on here, but I think that it may be dry already. I'm just stamping it on my, yeah, it's dry already. But see, this is the plastic that goes down on top of here to hold it. And I accidentally printed some acrylic on there. Not a big deal. It'll come off. But that's how I like to use these minis, or what they call their petites. Okay, hold on. So now this should be dry enough to be ready for a for us to put the next color over the back of it. Okay, so what do I want that's not going to overwhelm this light green? Uh, and I do need a blue. I wonder if I should use that same blue again. Where did you go? Okay, hold on. Here. Nope, here. Nope, here. I have so much paint around me, y'all. Cerulean blue. Let's try that one. Uh, yeah, let's try the cerulean blue. So this should all be dry now. So I'm just going to put some of this on here and roll it out. We'll see what we have. So now I'm back to the large one. So I'm going to use the big brayer. So I don't know how these greens are going to look on top of the blue, but I guess we'll find out together. There we go. So when I do a print session, I'm in my, it's so hard, like you lose track of time because you're like, well, what if I do this? And what if I do that? And you're just having so much fun that you really, you totally lose track of time. Okay, a little bit of it came off and went on there. Let's do that. All right, we're gonna just try it. This I'm going to roll off here. Kind of get rid of some of it right there. For the heck of it. Boop. Okay. Now that's somewhat cleaned off. And what do I want to pull that with? Ah, mixed media paper. That's right. That's what we wanted to do now. So I've got the Fabriano mixed media, dry and wet techniques. I love this paper for pulling prints. It's really a nice paper for printmaking. And so we're going to take this. I'm going to sort of line it up there. There we go. Let's use the Baron. Nice. Just like that. Fantastic. So this is the, if you weren't here earlier, this is the 8x10 that I'm working on, 8x10 gel press. And there are a whole bunch of other sizes as well. They go way up. They go big as well. So you can have a big one on your table. All right. So I don't know whether it's going to pull or if I have to wait for it. So I usually will just lift a corner and see. It's part way coming. Okay, we're gonna warm the back. Warm the back. You don't want to overheat the gel press, but you can warm it, and sometimes that will help it to release the paint to the paper. Okay, so we're just warming it just a little bit like that. So this paper also is not this mixed media paper. It makes beautiful prints, but it's not as thirsty as that sketch paper from Yasutomo that I was showing you, the Japanese paper. Um, that's why the Japanese paper pulls such beautiful prints. Let's see. Okay, that may have done it. I was saying earlier, don't heat the, don't directly heat these, but if you have paper on it and you can warm the paper and the paint, that's okay, as long as it doesn't get too hot. You don't want like a hair dryer where it's really too hot. Okay, let's see what we got now. Oh yeah, better, 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 better. Wow. Okay, so let's see what we got. Fun. Oh, look how fun that is. Oh my gosh. Now, if I wanted more of the blue to come up, oh, thanks for the hearts. I appreciate it. And art by Michelle. Welcome in, welcome in. Oh, why is my computer? It says that it's charging, but it says it's at 10%. Oh my goodness. Yeah, so there we've got sort of a combo of the those green and the little spots. So that's a nice layer. See, I would use that as a background for something else like a collage, or draw or paint on top of that would be awesome. But this paper is fabulous. This Fabriano mixed media paper. Now look at what we have here. There is a beautiful ghost image here, right? So what are we going to put on top of that blue? I want to put gold on top of the blue. I think gold would look beautiful on top, peeking through these little circles right here. So I'm going to put that blue away and I'm going to grab some gold, and let's just put some gold on here. There we go. This is the Pebeo Studio Acrylics Metallic Gold. And this has already been wiped off. See? So I rolled it off already. Oh, fun. Okay, so here goes the gold. The gold will show through those little circles, right? That came up. Awesome. Let's just get this in here. Nice. Okay. Now you need to get more gold. More gold down here. Come on. There we are. Yeah, so those circles, those green circles left a negative space when we pulled up the last print. And so now you're going to see the gold through those circles. It's going to be so fun. Let's put this leftover gold over here, about on this side. Okay, because we've got copper. We have copper over here. Remember, like I said, this can be turned into artist trade cards or become the background for another piece of artwork. I love just doing this random stuff and then cutting them into artist trade cards and then collaging on the artist trade cards. It's awesome. Oh, this is gonna be so pretty. Okay, okay. What paper am I pulling it on? Oh my gosh. I want it to be slightly more moist, so I'm just gonna use my little spray bottle, and I'm gonna put a little bit of water here because I want it to be moist enough that this mixed media paper will pick it up a little bit more. So let's try that. Ugh. We're gonna try this one again. That's the Fabriano mixed media. Now, I could also, make marks in here right now, but I think I'm just going to leave it as it is because the design is looking really cool. Okay, this is the Fabriano mixed media paper. I just wet that paint just a little bit with a light mist spray because this paper is not as thirsty as some of my other papers. All right, so let's just do this. This is going to be beautiful. Okay, barren time so that I can get a nice even pressure around here. Okay, nice. There we go. Awesome. Awesome. Don't think it's going to pick up. It's not picking up everything yet. Okay, heater. Let's warm it. Let's warm it. Sometimes it just takes patience. Like you just have to walk away and let it dry on the paper. Let the layers dry on the paper. And then come back, like go have a snack, make yourself a cup of coffee, right? And then come back and pull it. Sometimes that's what I have to do. So I'm just warming the back of the paper, but not making it too hot, right? We don't want it to damage the actual uh, press. Okay, shall we? Let's see. Let's see. Okay, good. We got a bunch of the blue up. Oh my gosh, look at that. You see the gold coming through the blue? There's a little bit of that, spatter of the copper left over. I love pulling these metallic prints. They are just gorgeous. Okay, so now let me show you what happens when I put ink on. Ah, thank you, Art by Michelle said, love it. Here, I'll just put that there for a second while I'm talking to you about the ink because it's so pretty, right? So pretty. So this is India ink, or sometimes it's called China ink. Okay, and it is a permanent when it's dry, and this is the Pebeo India ink. I've been using this for like 15 years or more. Okay. Love this ink. But I have also been using the Yasutomo Sumi ink as well because I do a lot of Asian brush painting, like this kind of Asian brush painting. Okay. And so I use the Sumi ink, and I've been doing that since I was a kid using Sumi ink. Yasutomo happens to have a very good quality Sumi ink. You can always count on them. Okay. And this too, the Pebeo India ink, you can always count on that. Um, so I'm just going to show you the type of stuff that I do on the gel plate with ink. Why not? We're having fun, right? You can use a brush to do this. Um, or like if it has a dropper like this one does, you can just sort of like, now what I had mentioned before about the surface here being it like it resists wet media. Okay. So that's what it's doing right now is it's resisting this, which is fine because then that gives me very organic sort of looking shapes, right? And that's okay. I like that actually. And that is something that I strive for imperfect, the perfectly imperfect, right? So what I'm doing is I'm just squeezing this gently, and it is depositing just a little bit of the ink on there. But I could also use a brush and brush it on. You'll find the more you use your gel plate, the more residue is on it, then the better the this will stick to it. Right now, it is beating up on it, which is fine. It's awesome. I love that it's beating up on it. So let's just do this because I'm not going to get perfect circles. You're going to know they're circles, but they're not going to be perfect circles. And I'm okay with that, right? Because when I use my gel plate, it's an imperfect type of process. Okay, so here's one that I worked on before. This is the newsprint paper, right? And isn't that pretty? That has some fun layers on it, but it's a nice light color. Let me see. I'm just looking to see if there's another piece that I might want to put the. Ooh, you know what? I might want to put those on. Yeah. Oh, so many choices. That's what happens when you start making all of these and then you've got them all around you. It's like, which one do I want to put it on? Okay, this is awesome. So I want to put it on this one. Here we go. So this is a piece of deli paper that we pulled, right? Or we were picking up some leftover, and we've got the copper on there. Let's use this one. Let's see what happens when we do it on this one. As I'm putting it down, I'm looking at where the corners are, and the corners are here, and trying to match it up a little bit. It's not essential, but it's can be helpful. Okay, so yeah, like that. Ooh, okay, this is gonna be cool. This is gonna be cool. Let's do this. Hey, some of it looks like it's coming through some of the ink is coming through the deli paper, but you know what? Your Baron's gonna get dirty, okay? It happens. I try to keep my Baron clean as long as I possibly can, um, so that it doesn't get lots of dirt on the back of my prints. But your Baron's gonna get dirty. All right, we can just get over it. All right, let's see if this is ready to pull. Ooh. All right, it's leaving some interesting ghosty marks. Ooh, what does that look like to you? I know exactly what it looks like to me. What does it look like to you? A type of pattern. What kind of pattern is that? I don't see anybody putting it in the chat. Leopard print. Absolutely. It looks like a leopard print, and I wasn't even trying to do that, was I? That is so cool. And look, this left a really cool design on there. Okay, okay, okay. What else do I have here next to me? Let's take, ooh, I have this really cute one with the pink on there. Let's take that one. This was a ghost print. So we're going to pull a ghost print of this as well. And just put it down on there and we'll see what we get. Okay. Like that. This is printer paper. So I was saying earlier, you don't have to have fancy paper. You can just use, a ream of printer paper and pull beautiful prints on it. The printer paper works really well for that, actually. Okay, pew, 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 pew. Let's see. Oh, that's cool looking. Okay, very interesting. Look, look, look. Right? That's the ghost print. So this has a really interesting look to it. Huh. All right. See, with something like this, I just keep pulling, pulling, pulling until I go, oh, okay, I'm happy with the pattern I have now. Right? Ah. And let's try something else because this is just so beautiful. So some of the ones that I have here, hold on a second. I'm going to show you one that I've done before. So you see this right here? So this is the ink on a brush. So we're going to do that now. We're going to put some ink on a brush and then we're going to put it on top of here. So we're going to see what we get. So let me get a little brush, Asian brush. So whenever I use Asian inks, I get the brush wet first, like this, and then I'm just going to put a little bit of ink in this cup right here. Look at that. Boop. Just a little bit that I can pick up with my brush. And when you pull a print, whatever it is that you wrote is going to be backwards. So I don't write words per se because everything is going to be backwards and nobody's going to be able to read it. Unless you know how to write backwards, mirror image, you can do that. Or you can print something mirror image. And I had mentioned earlier, you can put it underneath. This is just a piece of printer paper underneath. So you can see through this and you could do it mirror image on here if you wanted to go that far. So I'm just going to do some mark making here. Okay. And a little bit of something that looks kind of like Asian letters. Um, some marks like this, right? Just something unusual like that. Little marks, little marks. And you're noticing that the ink is pilling up, right? Because I have water on my brush. If you want it to be thicker, just use acrylic paint, okay? If you want it to appear a little bit more thickly, instead of appearing kind of like it's a ghost image there, just use acrylic paint. And then it won't have as much of a water content and it won't bead up like this. But I like the bead up effect myself. Okay. And then just do something like that. I'm just sort of filling the area up. I don't even have to use the paper as a finished piece. I can always use the paper, tear it up and use it for collage, right? Okay. So I've got that on there. Let's just pull this. We'll see. Let's see what we get. There we go. A lot of it is just experimenting and having fun. Ooh, see the ink coming through? The ink is very powerful. It wants to come through the paper. Sorry, I think that made you shake, didn't it? Okay, let's use the Baron a little bit here. And we'll see what we get. It looks like I didn't have a perfect registration, but that's okay. Let's see what we got. Shapes on there. It's beginning to look like there's something going on there. Uh, now I like where all this is going. Um, I have more on here, so let's just add a little bit more. Sort of go over some of it a little bit, and I'm going to pull it on a. Now I could let this dry also and put another color on the background of it. I'm just going over those spots to get more ink on there. Ink. Okay. And then let me take a piece of, I'm going to use a piece, this is the newsprint. So I'm just going to pull a print with the newsprint. We'll see what happens. Yee, there we go. But it's just like potato chips. You can't do just one. It's a process, right? You're going to pull, 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 learn from each pull and make decisions of what direction you're going to go in. And when you decide that you want to start fresh, you just pick a, you just clean it off. Okay, well, there's the beginning of something. That's interesting. Let me put that off to the side there. I want to put a sort of transparent color on there and then pull a transparent color here so some of that black shows through. So what would be a good transparent color? I'm just looking in my stash over here. I want something that's relatively light, but that's transparent. Okay, I think my first thought is just to use the yellow. So this is your fluorescents are generally transparent. Okay, so that's what I'm doing here. So oops, hey you, I got some yellow in the lid there. Okay, my fingers are just gonna have to get dirty. There we go. And here, bloop, there we go. Let's just put some of this yellow on here. It looks like a crosswalk yellow or something, right? Like somebody would wear it as a, oh, it's almost green even, but it says it's yellow. So it is a transparent yellow. Let's just cover the whole thing in transparent yellow. And then we'll pull the transparent yellow here again. Kind of register it, kind of, not perfect, but it doesn't matter. Okay, here we go. Hello, hello. I see some new people have popped in over on YouTube and whatnot. Welcome in, welcome in. I'm doing working with gel press plates and doing some fun uh, monotype printing. Wow. Okay. That is looking cool, right? We're getting some cool stuff off of there. That would make a neat background for something. Okay, awesome. Um, I've got more yellow on here. Let's go ahead and put some more yellow on here and pull another just plain, sort of a plain background to work on top of. Okay, I think I'll use a piece of printer paper. Let's see how that goes. Printer paper. So I generally go through lots of printer paper when I'm doing this because the printer paper works great for pulling up whatever's there. It seems to grip, it has just the right porousness that it seems to grip the paint really well. Okay. All right. How you gonna do? How's she gonna do? Wow, nice. Okay, it didn't pull it all off, but it pulled lots of it off. You see how this looks very grungy, even though the color is the yellow is very bright. It has that worn pavement or worn cement walls look to it, doesn't it? And there's even a little bit of gold and copper shining through from what we had down on there before. Um, Now let's say that I want to clean this off. Oh, let me get rid of the extra, if there's anything extra on here. Just rub it on this notepad paper. There we go. So if I want to clean this off, that's when I'm going to use my hand sanitizer. Bloop. Let's put some hand sanitizer on there and use a paper towel. So I have my paper towel here. Let's just rub the hand sanitizer over here. And that will clean it off. So at the end of your session, if that's what you want to do, you just, I don't always clean it off. It depends on how long it's going to be before I'm going to use it again. But if it's going to be the next day, I just leave the paint on there and let it be remnants for the next session, right? Maybe it's a couple of hours later or something. You don't need to worry about it. But if I'm going to put it away and leave it for a little while before I use it again, then yeah, I like to clean it. You see how that is cleaning it right off? Yeah, that was the hand sanitizer. But then before putting it away, I want to use the um, mineral oil. So I'm going to get a different paper towel, real quick, like here. Um, and I want to use just a touch of mineral oil on it, and that will help condition it because there's mineral oil in it, as I was saying. So here's our mineral oil. Did I even open this before? Yeah, I did. Okay, cool. So let me just put a little bit of mineral oil on here. Bloop. And I will go ahead and oil it. That's why the I was saying the ink stands on top. Anything that's too wet will just stand right on top of it. So here I'm just using the mineral oil, rubbing that over it. That will also get it, that will also help to clean it as well, the mineral oil. But it also helps to condition it. Okay, there we go. Nice. Isn't that amazing? Now, usually my plates are super dirty because I just keep working on top of them like crazy. Okay, awesome. That looks beautiful. It's not perfect, perfect. They're little tiny bits there, but you can see, right? That took even more off. And the edges. Ooh, that is in nice condition now. Nice condition. All right, I'm gonna go to the 5x7 one right now. So I'm gonna pick this one up. What do I do to pick it up? Well, I've got the clamshell, and in the clamshell, I have the plastic that it came in. So let me find the clamshell. Here it is. Hee hee. There's the clamshell for the gel press. Thank you, gel press. They sent this to me. I'm like, yes. Now I can have a clean one to show y'all because my other one is like super ratty. But this is the 8x10. And this is one of the sheets of acetate that comes with it. So we're just going to put that on there. Make sure it covers it. Nice. And that will attach to it just like that. Kind of get the bubbles out somewhat. There we go. And then, come on, Bubbles, you can do it. Go, 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 go. I'm going to get ready with the other piece of acetate because we're going to lift this up, right? We're going to lift it up off of the piece of printer paper right there. And Now I can just use the other piece of acetate on this side, match it up, and just do it down like this. There we go. And now it is ready for the next time I want to use it. Isn't that awesome? Awesome. And so I'm going to put it inside the clamshell. Normally I would leave it out like overnight to kind of let everything dry and cure, and then put it back in the clamshell like that. Isn't that nice? Nice, easy way to store it. Woo! Awesome. Okay, so let's take a look at the 5x7. Where are you, 5x7? Is this the 5x7? Yeah. Okay, so this is the 5x7 gel press, which is fantastic for doing your postcards. If you have 4x6 postcards like I have here, or if you have 5x7 paper, which I have over here, I introduced earlier some really great 5x7 paper I found recently that is 110 pounds, which is perfect for this kind of technique. The 140-pound watercolor paper is a little bit thick, I've found. It's not as flexible, so I like the little bit lighter paper, like the mixed media paper and the watercolor paper I'm going to show you. So here I've got the one acetate, and here I have the other acetate, right? And oh, it's so beautiful. Get a look at the beauty of it because it's never going to look like that again. It's gonna get so dirty. It's just the way it is. It's the nature of the beast, right? There it is. Oh, interesting. It says gel press on the end of it right there. 5x7. Lovely. Let's put it down so it's even. And I'm just on a piece of printer paper, so it sticks to the printer paper. And then I can go ahead and roll out some color on it. And we're going to be using this new paper that I got. I introduced it last week, but it's a nice bulk 110 pound watercolor paper, but I'm going to show you something special about it. It has cold press on one side, so it has some texture to it, and it's flat on the other side. So when I pull gel press prints, I'm going to print on the flat side. Okay, so we are going to give this a try. Hold on a second. I have to get organized. I'm going to put these acetates back inside here like that. Awesome. And then, what color do I want to use here? I'm thinking, what am I thinking? Um, let's see, are these still any good? I'm thinking of these guys right here, right? That'll be cute. So let's, first things first, we have to put down a background. Actually, we have yeah, where's the 5x7? So we're gonna put a background color down on here. Just maybe that light, no, what do we want? What do we want? What do we want? Sort of a green, but not too overpowering. I'm looking. I know I have a permanent green in here somewhere. Yes, there it is right there. Okay. Geet. Permanent green. No. Dang it. That's another one of those phthalo greens. Hold on. I know I have a lighter green here. Where are you? Mm. No, things are dropping, which is typical. That's also, look at this. I have 3 phthalo greens. What the heck? That's because I use it so much to color mix with, y'all. I use phthalo green like crazy. Okay, come on. I have permanent green in here somewhere. Yep, there it is right there. So I've got my permanent green, and let's put that down first. Hey, S. Diedrich, welcome in, welcome in. I am, oh, this is the very first time I'm using this 5x7 um, gel press plate that was given to me by the folks over at Gel Press. Okay, so we're going to start with this beautiful light green. This is a 5x7, and I'm using my brayer to roll my permanent green color onto here. Nice. And then we're using this new 5x7 110-pound watercolor paper that I found that I'm in love with. So I'm using the smooth side. So this is my first experiment with this paper. We'll see how it goes. All right, now it looks like the paper is a little bit smaller than the 5x7 gel press, and I don't want to get the paint that's around the edges on my brayer, right? So I'm going to take a piece of wax paper. I know I have one already cut. Yes. Come on now, don't make everything fall as I pull it out. Okay, so I'm just going to put a piece of stop it, wax paper on here, and then I can use the Baron over the top of it. Okay, so this S. Diedrich, this is called a Baron, and it's just something that you use to press when you're doing a handmade monotype print. And I do press with my hand, but then I like to go back over it with a Baron. So this is by Yasutomo. Yasutomo made this Baron. And there'll be a link to it in the description of the video on YouTube. Okay, let's pull it. Let's pull it. Let's see how this paper takes this. It's I've been having, oh, look at that. That's awesome. That looks fabulous. Okay, nice. Now, the reason it didn't take some of these other places is this table is not even. It's not perfectly flat. I'm on the seam in the middle of the table right here. So this side is actually up just a little bit. And this paper is hard, right? This is a thicker paper. It's 110-pound. If I was using something very flimsy, a more flimsy paper, it might have picked that up, but I am not worried about it. We're just going to leave that there as a, yep, as a background. Okay, what am I going to do with this? Where is it? Where is it? So I'm going to take this, right? Because I have leftover green paint on here and enough of it. This is one of the petites, they're called. So I can rub some of it onto the petite. Didn't completely cover it, but that's all right. We'll get over it. And then I'm going to take this is just a foamy, I think they're called. It's a big old foam. Ooh, see there? So this can go on my serendipity paper over here. No, it's too dry. Okay, let's do this. I have some paper here from before. Let's just put that right there. So this is one of the petites, it's called, from Gel Press. It's a little too dry. I'm gonna have to put another color on the back. But it's I just took it and put it on an acrylic backing like this. Boop. You can just put them on like that and they'll stick. And then you can press them wherever you want them. But this one was already getting dry, I can see. Yeah, so it didn't completely come off, but that's okay. I'll put another color on it when I have some more color, and then that will work. Let's do that. Now, what color do I want to put down next? I want to put something that is somewhat opaque, and I would like a light opaque color. So Naples yellow is a light opaque color, right? Naples yellow. I had it out here. There it is, Naples yellow. So now let's put Naples yellow down on here like that. So this is Origin Acrylics by Pebeo Naples Yellow, which I know is opaque. Now there's a little bit of green here that'll probably mix with that, but you know what? That's okay. I'll get over it if it does. Oh, it's not really mixing with it. Okay, good. Nice. Boop. Nice opaque color there. All right, cool. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take these shamrocks from out in the yard and we're going to put them on here like this. There we go. So it's really cool to take plant matter from outside. If you can find some flat plant matter, Let's do this. I love the nasturtium. I think the nasturtium are so pretty. Okay, like that. And there's another little nasturtium here somewhere. Where'd it go? I don't know. It's in amongst all the goodies here. There it is. There's the little one. There's the little one. I'll put the little one there like that. So what we're doing right now is we're creating masks, they're called. So let's put this one right here. This is another one of the shamrocks, the clover. Come on, clover, you can do it. There we go. Clover. There's another small clover here. Another small clover. You can see we had paint earlier. We were doing this earlier. Okay. Nice. We've got our clovers going. All right. We're going to put this back over top of it. Now we've got the green. We're just going to put it right back over top of it. Like that. Okay. I need to put this over it. Oh, look, I have some of this Naples yellow left. And it's perfectly still wet. So maybe I can put this on an artist trade card. I don't know. Let's try it. I know it might be off camera. Let's see. Let me bring it off over here. There we go. Let's see if I can do it. The nice thing is I can see through it so that I know where to put it on the artist trade card. We'll see if it comes off or not. It may not. Oh, it did kind of. But that's fun, right? For an artist trade card. Okay, let's press this a little bit harder. We need to put a piece of this over it. We need to use the Baron to make sure, you move out of the way there. You have paint on you. So I usually like to do this process on a much larger, in a much larger area, more open on a table, because you're going to be, have lots of stuff that you need to put off to the side there. Okay, let's see. How's it doing? Trying to get it all pressed all the way in, even in the areas that are um, doing this because of the table. Okay. We'll see how it does. Fun. Let's see here. Boop. Take that off. And then see there, right? Now what I'll do is I'll go in with a marker and I'll flesh out and make some designs inside there, inside those empty spaces. But you can see how you can mask off and leave some space. Now let's do this. I'm going to set this one aside. And then we're going to take these off, and that's going to leave paint behind. Ooh, not very much paint. Not very much. Little bit, little bit, little bit. That's kind of fun. Eeh. Okay, let's do this. Come on. You can do it. Okay. And I'm not sure if these will come up right away or not. I'm just going to spray it with a tiny mist of water if I can find my spray bottle right here. Just to keep it just a tiny bit moist, right? Give it a second. And then I will pull, I need to pull it on a darker background. So what do I have that's a darker background here? Yee. Okay, it's not gonna look good on there. This is a darker background. Let me see. See, now I'm looking through all of my, all the things that I've pulled. Here, we'll just do it on here for fun of it. And I'm just gonna set this down on there. So this is where I've already pulled some paint on this one. This is a piece of printer paper, like your home printer paper. There we go. Let's see. if I can pull that up or not. So sometimes those masked prints pull and sometimes they don't. We shall see. Ooh, okay, interesting. So if I had a much darker background, you can see it, but it was that Naples yellow. So if I had a much darker background, it would show up better. It shows up, it just doesn't, it would show up better if it were on a dark background. If I had another one of these dark green backgrounds, for instance, ready to go, then that would have showed up better on top of the dark background. Um, oop, this is drying. Let's put that in the water. Ugh. I'm just wondering what or if there's anything else I want to show y'all. I'm just looking around, seeing what I have here. And okay, this one's really, really, really pretty. So this is a stamp. And I was saying earlier that if you're going to use a stamp um, on the gel press, that it needs to be, the design needs to be pretty deep. Okay. And also, it's helpful if the design is not too fine because we're working with acrylic paint, we're not working with ink. So, this is a good one, and that should work beautifully on there. So, I've got another piece of the 110 paper ready. What color do we want to put on there? Ooh, okay, hold on. I'm looking at some of my other ones. Maybe I want to pull that. Maybe I want to put it on top of here just for fun because this paper can be used for collage or card making, anything, right? So that's an interesting background. uh nah, I think I'm gonna pull it just fresh. So let's put, what color? I want to have an interesting color here. So the for some reason I'm very attracted to this cerulean blue tonight. I It keeps calling my name. Come on, mom, use me. So this is the Origin Acrylics Cerulean Blue, which is a this says it's a transparent color right there, but no, I'm sorry. It says it's an opaque color. Okay, that's more like it. So let me get my roller. It may mix with the color that's on there, but you know what? I am not worried about it because we're just having fun. Just showing you some techniques. I'm not being super serious, right? This is just fun. So on this 5x7, now what I can do is take this and put it down on here. Let me try to get it somewhat in the middle right there. Okay, so I'm pressing it and it's going to lift off and leave that design. Bink. So now the design is on there. See there? How it left the color. Now I can take this and put it somewhere else. Where's my notebook that I was working in? So here is the notebook I was working in. Make sure that's going to release, and then I'll put it right there. And we'll see if the design goes on there or not. Kind of not so much in the middle, but that's okay. Let's quick pull our print with the 5x7, smooth side. There we go. We'll see what it turns out like. Did I get it? Yes, I got it pretty much on the middle there. Since I've got a little bit over the edges, I'm going to put some of this on there. And then I'm going to use the Baron on it. There we go. So that way the excess paint goes on the other side of the wax paper and not on my Baron, right? And not on my fingers. There we go. Okay. The wax paper helps the Baron to move too. So it's good. It's good. All right, we'll see how this turns out. I don't know. I haven't tried that the stamp with that before. Now see how the stamp is dirty? I can either put water on it like this right away and try to clean it. But usually I just use one of these wipes, a wipe. So let's get out a wipe, right? Aren't wipes good for all kinds of stuff? They are fantastic. And then, because you don't want to leave too much of that acrylic paint sitting on there. If you can help it, it'll build up. There we go. And if I forgot and I left the paint on there, what am I going to use to clean it? I mentioned earlier, I'm just going to take rubbing alcohol, spray it with rubbing alcohol, let it sit for a minute, and then the rubbing alcohol will break up. Alcohol breaks up acrylic paint, okay? So if you ever get acrylic paint on your clothes or something, see if your clothes are okay with you putting alcohol on them. If it, the item, if it is, then you can soak it. And oftentimes you can get that acrylic right out of your clothes with the alcohol. And most people don't even know that. Okay, so that's most of the way dry anyway, most of the way clean. Okay, let's see. What do we have here? Did it show up? Partly showed up. So you can see the design there. So I may need to have, this may be, again, too small of a design because when you put your paper down and then you rub over top of it, what are you doing? You're smashing the paint into the paper. If the paper is not that absorbent, then you're actually going to smash the paint around. Um, it's okay, but it wasn't, this one's not quite far enough apart to make it work. I have a little bit of a ghost print there. Let's do this for the ghost print. I'm just going to spray the ghost print with a little bit of water. Let's see if it'll come up. It might not. It doesn't matter. This is one of those, hey, the creative Graham, welcome in, welcome in. We're doing some fun with the gel press jelly plate tonight. And let's see, it may have picked it up, it may not have. Oh, it picks some of it up. So there's a little bit of the design went onto there. That would be the negative side of the design. And this is one of those pieces of paper where you just keep picking up. That's neat. Yeah, S. Diedrich. Um, so this is one of those papers where you just keep picking up whatever's left on there. And then you can use the paper for all kinds of stuff. This is leftover paint on here. What am I going to do next? Do I need this? Okay, let's put this back on here and then I'll show you with this other, let's do another stamp here. I like this combo of the the green and the blue. Okay, so these were the other type of cling stamps that I was showing you earlier. Let me hold on. I got to get the base for it. Where did you go? There it is. Okay, so you see this right here, the honeycomb, and this is one of those electrics. Do I watercolor paint? Yes. What night do I watercolor paint? I do watercolor paint. It just depends on what people ask for. So if you ask for watercolor painting, then I can do watercolor painting next Sunday. I'll be happy to come up with a watercolor project. If there's a particular subject you want, then let me know and I can work it out. Um, so this is just a piece. These are cling stamps. It's a little bit dirty, so it's not clinging very well, but it just goes on here. And the nice thing about this cling stamp is that it is, these are much bigger. The design is a little bit bigger. So let's see what happens when I do this. And then we pull the print. The design's not so close together, right? Yee, I'm kind of overlapping it a little bit. That's okay. I don't care. It's all right, right? It's all right. It's for fun. So let's do that. Nice. Very interesting. Let's pull that. Oop, we're going to pull it on here just for the heck of it. Aw, thank you. The creative Graham said, I've been taking classes and would love to watch you also. Thank you. So here, I'm going to put this on here. Tonight we're working with acrylic paints on the gel press to make monotype prints. And then I use the monotype prints. Some of them I use as finished artworks, and some of them I tear or cut them up and use them as collage material. All right, let me do this. And then we've got the Baron going. But yeah, if there's a particular subject that you would like me to do, just put it in the comments. Or if you're on Whatnot, you can always message me. And if you're on YouTube, you go to the um, community tab and you can put your question in there or your request for me to do a certain subject. All right, I'll be happy to. Um, Last week I did some watercolor as well. We were doing birds of North America, and one of the projects was with watercolor. All right, let's see how this. Ooh, okay, that's interesting. I likey. You see how, because this one is a little deeper and farther apart, the design. So you see how you get more of the design there, especially when you're putting it on a different color like that. That's really showing up. Ooh, I like that a lot. I like that a lot. Okay. So we have a little bit of leftover paint. Oftentimes what I do with leftover paint, let's see if there's some leftover paint on here that'll come off on the gel press. I don't know. Nope, it's not, it's dry already. Okay, and then let me just put that away. And then I will just put a different color on there. You know that I love the gold over top of the blue. So even if this paint is dry, you can still put another color over top of it. What color, what color, what color? Something light because that blue is dark. Oh, okay. The opposite of blue is orange, but the colors are not going to blend together. So opposite colors on the color wheel look great next to each other. Okay. Um, and so orange and blue are opposite each other on the color wheel. Let me show you the color wheel, which of course I have like bunches of them over here, a bunch of different kinds. So here you have orange, and across from it, that's called its complementary color, is blue on the color wheel right here. So they look good next to each other. But if you mix them together, meaning see where it says add blue, if you add blue to orange, you get this mousy, green, gray color, right? But the blue here is already dry. See that? So the blue is not going to mix with the orange. So if I use orange on top of this dry blue, I'm going to get a really neat effect. So let's do that. Let's put a little bit of orange on here. Nice. All right. I'm going to use my other little brayer that I have. This little brayer is perfect for the petites, these little guys that I was showing you earlier. These kind. Fantastic for those. Okay, let's do this. Whew. All right, so we've got some orange on there. And then we're gonna pick the orange up. Here, you know what I'm gonna do with this? I'm gonna put the leftover orange over top of what's dry here. And I'm gonna put that on another, all right, where are my other artist trade cards? I love to keep artist trade cards handy. This is that same paper, 110 pounds, smooth on one side, rough on the other. So I'm gonna flip it over so I can see. And then I'm gonna put that right there. And I'm gonna press it down, and I'm just gonna leave it for a minute so it can sort of dry, and then I'll pull that up because I wanna pull this right now. What paper do I wanna use? I think I wanna use just printer paper. Like I said, I love the effect on printer paper of these of these prints. Okay, the printer paper just seems to pick it up so nicely. See, my hands have paint all over them, but that's okay because before I started, I put a barrier cream on my hands and it'll just wash right off. If you weren't here earlier, I like to, this is the Winsor& and Newton Art Guard barrier cream, or I also like to use the silicone glove barrier cream. And both of those work really well to protect your hands from all this paint, and then it just washes right off. There we go. Yeah, we're gonna see what we get here in just a second. But before I pull that, I'm gonna show you, see how you can see through the acrylic block to the paint that's underneath. And I'm just using these little 110-pound artist trade cards that actually I cut out of the 5x7. Remember I said earlier, I have this huge pack of 240 sheets of 110-pound. I like the 110-pound for pulling prints instead of the 140. It's just a little more flexible. And this paper has a rough side and a smooth side. But the other secret here is that these are 5x7s. And I got the 5x7s on purpose. Normally I order 4x6s, but I took the 5x7s because you can cut it in half this way and cut it in half this way. And that makes 4 artist trade cards. Isn't that awesome? And so that's what I did here is I cut these and I made these other artist trade cards. And then that's what I'm doing here with this one. And then let's peel it and let's see what we got. Oh, nice. Look, see how it peeled clean? Ooh, the design is kind of bizarre, but that's okay. It creates a background, and then I can go on top of these backgrounds with acrylic markers and pens and do some really cool um, designs over top of them. So that's a way to use up that little bit of leftover paint is to just use your, what they call their petites. If you didn't see those earlier, let me show you. So gel press has these things they call petites. Gel press petites. So one's missing from here because that's what I was using. See the 3-inch oval? That's what this is right here. It lives in there. But there are 2 different sets of these with different shapes. And then you just need the acrylic, and these are fantastic. Fantastic. All right, let's take this off of here. Wow, look at that nice clean pull. Ooh, interesting, right? Isn't that cool? Where you have the orange with the blue sitting on top, so you get nice contrast. The blue and the orange didn't mix together, so you get a good, interesting background out of that. Fantastic. Um, there is so much more to know and to do with this kind of um, the gel press and what do they call them? The monotype printing. There is so much that you can do. And there's also all the offshoots from that. So this is watercolor paper. And this is where I rolled off. And whenever I use this with the paint on the gel press, then I just got the excess paint off on here. So this becomes a background for artist trade cards or another collage painting or something like that, right? And so I was able to utilize a lot of the paint for things like that. And then we used ink. So if you weren't here earlier, we were also using the India ink on the gel press as well. Actually, let me see. I'm just looking to see if there's a piece that I would want to do the ink on. Well, I already did some of the ink on here. So you can see how the ink, this is non-permeable. So the ink actually beads up on top. You see how the ink is beading up here in this piece? And that's because the ink doesn't want to, it has nothing to soak into. And so it gives you a really interesting blobby effect. And this other piece over here gave us sort of a leopard print look with the ink. This was the first pull of the ink where it's heavy. You get a heavy pull, and then this was subsequent pulls of the ink so that it gets lighter and lighter as you go. But I love this very blotchy look that it gets. I think it's fantastic. Let me show you a couple of the other pieces that we were doing here. Of course, this one, if you were here recently, you saw where I was using the clover and the nasturtium out of my garden. Now, what I'll do is this is just acrylic paint on watercolor, right? So I will go back in there with my, um, I'm looking to see which one I want to use with markers or pens like this. And it's just acrylic paint. So I can literally just draw on top of here now and sort of be like, oh, okay, there's a nasturtium leaf. And I can draw whatever I want on there, right? And just use that as a beautiful background. Let me see one. This was the first one we were working on. Same thing. You can see the clover and the nasturtium here. And this was several layers. Also, if you look closely here, you can see the yellow of this, right? Where I was stamping this onto a yellow layer. And you can, I love how the artworks can become very multi-layered like that. This is another multi-layer we were doing earlier. And you can again see a pink version of those leaves underneath there and other things on top. And there's this one that we did where we used a stencil and we wiped out the paint from the stencil. Let's see, there's this one. I love where this one's going. I don't feel like it's done yet, but I love the direction it's going in. I like the color combination and how incomplete it looks in the background. I think that's fantastic. And then where is, okay, and then we had this one where we put, there was blue left over, and then we put gold in the background. So we have a lot of beautiful shimmer on that one. And this was these circles were a ghost print of this one, where the circles were created with this an egg carton, right? That's the bottom of an egg carton. And I just rolled the paint onto there and then rolled it onto the larger press. And there you go. That's how we got that. So I'm just looking to see if there's anything else. Nope, I think there are a few others that we did, but those were the highlights. This one's kind of interesting too. That's a ghost pull of a couple of different prints. But that is it for this portion of the show.